Johann is a reincarnated noble yet scorned. His future is uncertain and brutal. To survive, he defies the impossible, revealing a brutal, superhuman strength. Not even his father, the cruel Gessen, could contain his overwhelming power. But freedom comes at a high price. An imperial knight would fall by his blade. In a world of danger and ambition, Johann's story begins now. Joseph spots the hunt's target, a mystical creature feeding peacefully, signaling Johann to prepare for the imminent attack. As Johann draws his bowstring, Joseph instructs him not to forget his training and to remain calm for the perfect shot. The arrow strikes true, and the creature's cry of agony echoes through the forest, confirming Johann's successful shot. Johann comments that Joseph's bow broke too easily, while the hunter laments, saying he bought it new just a week ago. Crying, Joseph questions Johann's decision to become a hunter, saying it's entirely out of character for a noble. As Joseph suggests he should have learned swordsmanship, Johann maintains a serious expression, reflecting on his true motives for survival. Johann laments his position. As the last in the family hierarchy, he worries more about not being expelled than about inheritance. As they travel through the dark forest, his archer companion reacts swiftly, firing at wolves advancing toward them. Observing the scene, Johann begins to reflect on the strange reality of the world in which he had the chance to reincarnate. His reflection is interrupted by a monstrous hand emerging from the earth, showing this world is dangerously and confusingly realistic. Johann asks if the people they found were villagers, but Joseph, concerned, says it's hard to be sure what happened there. The need for money consumes Johann, his eyes gleaming with the symbol of gold as he desperately thinks he needs more. With a swift movement, the silver-haired knight blocks the blow, causing their weapons to clash violently. Joseph points to a money-obsessed figure, warning Johann about the man's greed to collect every last coin. Joseph shows Johann the little demon herb, explaining that the rare plant is excellent for stopping bleeding and waking people. Joseph crushes a purple flower, commenting that hunters need to know it and wondering if it's expensive, piquing Johann's interest. Johann offers a money pouch, insisting it's not his. Joseph, suspicious, replies that can't be right. Suddenly, a sharp scream echoes through the forest, causing Johann and Joseph to look up, completely alarmed. Without hesitation, the two dash through the woods, running toward the origin of the desperate sound they heard. Amidst growls, a man surrounded by monstrous wolves begs for help as Johann and Joseph observe the scene from afar. Joseph panics, stating there are too many wolves for them and they need to retreat for reinforcements, but Johann charges forward. Joseph screams that the wolves are man-eaters, but Johann sprints towards them, telling his companion to calm down. Johann instructs a shocked Joseph to save Dell, explaining he will draw the wolves' attention to create a distraction. Joseph encounters a wolf pack and immediately calculates the profit he could make from the pelts of at least 10 of them. Suddenly, Joseph's greed turns to terror as he sees something unexpected, questioning in shock what is happening. Without hesitation, Johann leaps toward the pack with his sword drawn, ready to launch the violent attack. Undeterred, the wolves advance fiercely on Johann, growling and baring their fangs in a coordinated assault. A monstrous wolf with red eyes lunges to attack, snarling fiercely as Johann braces for the impact with his sword. The beast's powerful jaws clamp down with overwhelming force on the steel blade, which begins to buckle under the pressure. The sword is no match for the creature's bite and shatters completely, breaking into several pieces inside its mouth. Johann cries out in despair, "Oh no!" as he sees his only weapon destroyed, leaving him defenseless against the beast's imminent attack. At the same instant, in the Yates family territory, the local lord's procession approaches the remote village of Baltroden. Upon arrival, Madame Yates covers her nose with her fan, demonstrating her utter contempt and disgust for the village's smell. Lord Gessen Yates shares the sentiment, cursing the damned remote village with a disdainful expression on his face. Suddenly, the lord stops and shouts in shock, his face contorted in disbelief at seeing something utterly unexpected. Gessen Yates arrives at the village, irritably questioning why there are hay bales at the entrance, as the villagers apologize. Beneath the hay, a fist mark deeply embedded in a tree reveals the terrifying strength of the training that took place there. In a flashback, Johann recalls the deadly peril of being surrounded and taken down by wild wolves during his training. The combat memory continues, showing Johann surprised as he manages to subdue one of the beasts with his bare hands. Johann intercepts and crushes a flying monster with a single devastating blow, showing his superior strength from the start of the confrontation. With a confident smile, Johann thinks of the monsters as cute pocket change, treating the deadly battle as a simple hunt for profit. He believes that to earn money, one needs overwhelming power that transcends humanity, and he unleashes it against the wolf pack. Upon witnessing Johan's superhuman strength, one of his companions is completely shocked and speechless. A beam of energy strikes a monstrous wolf's face, forcing the creature to recoil from the direct and unexpected impact. The surge of power continues, sweeping through the pack and throwing several wolves backward, completely breaking their attack formation. Another wolf is struck squarely, its neck snapping back from the brutal force of the blow that intercepts it mid-charge. Finally, one of the wolves collapses dead to the ground with an arrow lodged in its neck, revealing Joseph in the background as the archer. Joseph watches the scene in shock, unable to believe the monstrous strength Johann just displayed. Amidst the wolf corpses, Johann, with a sinister smile, wonders how much all that slaughter would be worth. He recalls his harsh past, where life was anything but easy, facing hardships from a young age. To survive in the medieval era, Johann reflects on what was necessary, knowing he would need to adapt. Questioned for eating scraps, young Johann explains they are superfoods essential for his nutrition and strengthening plan. He complements his diet with mixed martial arts practice, developing his combat skills from an early age. After years of accumulated training, an older Johann demonstrates his overwhelming strength by punching a large rock. With a face full of determination, each of Johann's punches shows the result of his discipline and relentless training. Johann's strength manifests brutally, uprooting an entire tree during his intense forest training. Amidst the devastation, Johann feels invigorated, questioning if his overwhelming strength is a blessing or another trial on his path. Johann's tranquility is shattered when a severed hand falls beside him, alerting him to an imminent, unknown danger. Surrounded by the wolves he just defeated, Johann observes the scene and calmly states that everything seems resolved for now. Joseph embraces little Dell, relieved to find her safe and sound as the girl cries in his arms, calling out for him. Recovering from the shock, Joseph begins to scold Johann, questioning if he grasps the danger they just faced. He stops, shocked, upon seeing Johann holding 2 dead wolves and calculating which hide will yield the most profit. Carrying a wolf carcass, Johann approaches Joseph and Dell, asking if they are well and unharmed. Little Dell recoils, her eyes wide with pure terror at Johann's brutal strength, unable to hide her fear. A monstrous, terrifying aura erupts from Johann as his body contorts, unleashing a dark and menacing power. Joseph is horrified by the power he witnesses, looking at Johann and screaming that he is a monster. Johann suddenly appears before a terrified villager protecting his daughter, facing an imminent threat in the darkness. With a smile, Johann realizes there are monsters in this world, appearing more excited than scared by the discovery. The threat reveals itself. A monstrous, gigantic wolf roars furiously, preparing to attack the group. Johann strikes the giant wolf with a devastating punch, and the brutal impact reverberates with a shattering sound. Johann's blow is so powerful it tears through the creature's thick hide, opening a deep, bloody wound. Surprised by the outcome, Johann shouts, realizing he managed to damage the beast's tough hide with his bare hands. Wounded and enraged, the wolf glares at Johann with glowing red eyes, growling and baring its fangs in defiance. The monstrous wolf howls in agony, seemingly overwhelmed by an invisible force echoing through the forest. Johann also suffers from the power, his head throbbing terribly as his mind threatens to give out. Kneeling, Johann stares at the source of his pain, the terrifying, spectral image of a red wolf in the sky. Watching little Dell sleep, Johann feels relieved, thinking that after the battle, everyone finally seems safe. Johann carries the sleeping Dell on his back, leaving behind the wolves he defeated and venturing into the forest's darkness. Carrying the 2 survivors, Johann spots the village and notices the lights are still on, a sign of hope in the night. In an exaggerated daydream, Dell's father declares he sees Johann in a new light and will name him his heir. Johann smiles, thinking that with luck, he might get appointed to the guard, even if he finds it unlikely. Suddenly, his expression shifts to one of surprise and alert as he senses an unexpected approach. Philip appears furious, shouting and demanding to know where they have been all this time. Gesson Yates arrives on horseback, observing the camp with an imposing presence as his men await him in silence. Dismounting, Gesson steps firmly onto the ground, a gesture demonstrating his authority and the gravity of the impending situation. He raises his enormous, ornate axe, the weapon reflecting the flames and portending the violence to come. With contempt, Gesson glares at Johann and angrily questions him, asking if his son dares to disrespect him. Philip shouts furiously, questioning the newcomer about how he dares to be absent on inspection day. In response to the shout, an armored boot stomps heavily on the ground, signaling a defiant presence. Johann finds his father, Gessen, while aiding wounded villagers. He looks up, surprised, stammering his name. Gessen raises his ornate axe, the blade gleaming with menacing intent, ready to confront his son. Faced with his father's deadly threat, Johann decides he must turn this crisis into an opportunity in his favor. Johann kneels and pleads, explaining he was late for inspection because he was saving a villager in the forest. Amidst a horde of creatures, Dell's father runs desperately, shouting his daughter's name in a panic. Overcome with emotion, the father embraces Dell and cries tears of relief, thanking the heavens she is safe and sound. Johann bows deeply, apologizing for his absence and vowing to do his utmost for everyone's safety. Still on horseback, Philip reacts to the scene with an expression of pure contempt and disgust, clearly disturbed. Johann smiles, pleased with his self-promotion, thinking that if he were the interviewer, he'd hire himself immediately. A guard mocks Johann, calling him future captain, and demands to see the wolves he claims to have captured as proof. Annoyed by the taunt, Johann suppresses his rage, cursing the guard in his thoughts for doubting his word. Unexpectedly, Father Valberga intervenes, confirming it's no lie and that he himself found a giant black wolf. Gessen explodes in rage at Johann's insolence, shouting that he'll smash his mouth shut. With a smile, Johann accepts the duel, stating he'll finally prove his skills to his father. Johann sighs, thinking he didn't want to fight his father, but has no other choice. Gessen smiles disdainfully, accepting the confrontation to see if Johann truly has the courage he displays. With a cruel smile, Gessen Yates orders Johann to raise his sword, declaring they'll have a pure fencing duel. Johann is shocked by his father's demand, questioning the sudden request for a sword duel between them. In a panic, Johann realizes his lunatic father never taught him how to use a sword, putting him at a total disadvantage. Holding a broken wooden sword, Johann stares at his father, comprehending the impossible situation he's been put in. Johann stares at his companion with determination, saying facing his father in a duel is the only way to survive. With a tense face, Johann refuses to beg, thinking to himself that fleeing the fight wouldn't be manly. Sword in hand, Johann faces Gessen and realizes this is the perfect chance to force him to acknowledge his skills. As a man screams in agony, Joseph watches the scene completely shocked, unable to believe what's happening. A dark aura with glowing red eyes manifests, and the man wonders, terrified, what is this monstrous pressure? The creature's attack is blocked, breaking its fangs. However, Johann is hit squarely, surprised by the blow's force. Johann is hit by a powerful blow, grunting in pain as the force of the impact violently throws him backward. Gessen Yates explodes in fury, questioning how a worm like Johann dares mock him, to the shock of spectators. As Gessen attacks, he reveals why he never taught Johann to fight. Even with a sword, he'd always be a worm. Gessen continues his attack, shouting that no matter how much Johann fights, he'll never be able to overcome him. Gessen shouts Johann's name and attacks with his axe, but the young man faces him and stops the blade with a surprising impact. The crowd of villagers watches the scene in complete silence and terror, unable to believe what they are witnessing. With his bare hands, Johann grips the blade of Gessen's axe, which begins to crack under the pressure of his strength. The weapon shatters, and with a determined gaze, Johann faces his father, revealing his overwhelming strength to all. Johann falls to his knees, shocked, as his dagger shatters on the ground before his father, Gessen. With a furious glare, Gessen raises his axe and threatens to crush Johann's skull if he offends him again. After the humiliation, Gessen turns his back and walks away, leaving Johann alone and defeated on the ground. Surrounded by a silent crowd, Johann remains in the center, feeling the weight of his failure and shame. Inside a room, Father Valberga expresses his fury against Lord Gessen, shouting that he doesn't care if anyone hears him. Outraged, he questions how Gessen could do that to the son who saved a resident, stating that a knight must have honor. Johann tries to calm the situation with a forced smile, saying he's fine and that having survived the confrontation is enough. However, his determined gaze reveals that despite his reassuring words, he is far from accepting the situation. Johann rests, admitting to himself that he didn't know much about swordsmanship, but that in the end, this was the harsh reality. Father Valberga states that Lord Gessen is a veteran knight with vast combat experience inherited from his family. The news that Gessen killed 300 men alone shocks Johann, who can barely believe the scale of the massacre. Johann sighs, resigned to the idea that, in this world, a warrior's skills are truly all that matters. Johann, caught off guard by the priest's reaction, confirms that he indeed saw the black wolf in the forest. Father Valberga reacts with fervor and praise, while Johann wonders why he is acting so strangely. As the priest shows him an ancient book, Johann listens carefully about the meaning of the creature he encountered. Father Valberga shows an ancient book, explaining that, historically, the black wolf has always been known as an ominous existence. Distraught, Johann wonders if the wolf foresaw the duel with his father, and Father Valberga considers that this might be the answer. Father Valberga tries to calm Johann with a smile, telling him not to worry too much about the creature's meaning. With a serene gaze, he suggests that, instead of a curse, the black wolf might be a sign that God is helping Johann. Johann smiles peacefully, remembering that his only desire was simple, just to earn a lot of money to live in peace. Under the moon, he reflects on his modest goal of earning money, questioning the path that led him there. In a brutal massacre, a blade descends mercilessly, about to forever silence the screams of a mother and her child. Karamov approaches a survivor, scoffing at their futile escape and declaring death inevitable for all present. A victim's bloodied face reveals the massacre's horror as the knight continues his relentless march among the bodies. A pile of bodies showcases the carnage's scale, as Karamov confirms his plan to exterminate everyone in the territory. Amidst a burning village, bodies pile up. The mercenaries observe the carnage they've just executed under orders. A subordinate kneels before his master, reporting, "Lord Karamov, the mercenaries have finished the cleanup." Karamov gazes at a crushed helmet in his hand, a bloody trophy from the massacre he orchestrated. With a sound of shattering metal, he clenches his fist, utterly destroying the helmet with his brute strength. With contempt, Karamov stares at the fallen knight, reflecting on his victim's name, Brits, who barely resisted. Karamov kneels, declaring himself the Emperor's representative and the Empire's sword to issue an order. A grim commander issues a brutal order to his troops: kill everyone, take everything, and burn it to the ground. In the heat of battle, swords clash with tremendous force as two warriors face off in deadly combat. A sword strikes the warrior squarely, but his armor and body withstand the impact, displaying impenetrable defense. The blade scrapes dangerously against the warrior's helmet, creating sparks inches from his determined eye. With a swift and merciless blow, Johann decapitates the Imperial Knight, whose helmet flies through the air mid-blitz. His opponent's cry of agony echoes in his mind, making Johann wake screaming, reliving the battle in a nightmare. Sitting up in bed, breathless and covered in sweat, Johann realizes the memory of that death still relentlessly haunts him. Johann reflects on the dark reputation of black wolves, long known as creatures of ill omen. He recalls their presence as a symbol of calamity, bringing death and shedding blood wherever they go. Despite the danger, Johann reacts with amusement, dismissing the shadowy creature that appears as if it were nothing. Johann smiles wryly, recalling that instead of training, he simply hurled a massive stone at his target. Annoyed by Johann's attitude, one of the men turns and confronts him, shouting, "Hey, you little rat!" The other two men, ranked 2 and 3, laugh and threaten him, telling him to stop making a scene. Two men mock the display of strength, certain it was merely a trick Johann's father would never pull off. To the spectators' shock, Johann obliterates the log with a single punch, revealing his strength was no trick. The impact of Johann's blow is so devastating that the log shatters into thousands of pieces, proving his superhuman power. As the boys flee in terror, Johann hears them scream that they will tell their father everything, believing he has gone mad for defying them. With a serious and resolute expression, Johann decides to ignore the threats, concluding that they are not worth worrying about. Philip, his father's henchman, arrives to observe Johann's training, maintaining a formal and serious demeanor. With bandaged fists, Johann smiles and says he expected this, appearing unfazed by the visit. Observing Johann's training silhouette, Philip asks if he isn't disappointed, questioning the young man's calm. Johann stops his punch inches from the tree, demonstrating impressive control of his strength as he listens to Philip. Before a shattered tree, Philip reflects on Johann's power, admitting that his strength is undeniably great. With a somber expression, Philip prepares to reveal the truth behind Gessen's resentment towards his own son. He reveals the father's fear, explaining that Gessen fears Johann's overwhelming strength will one day take everything from him. In a memory, a villager addresses Philip with respect, and he clenches his fist, resolute in his stance. Laurent displays a set of plate armor and a sword, revealing that his origin at the castle is a complete mystery. Looking at Johann, Laurent firmly declares that he is not like his father, distancing himself from his actions. Johann responds with a confident smile, stating that he is not foolish enough to dismiss someone with Laurent's skills. Johann shouts back, refuting the accusation and vehemently insisting that he was never the first to cause trouble. Ignoring the protest, Philip turns his back and discards an object, unilaterally ending the discussion. Watching him leave, Johann's gaze fills with determination, focused on his next steps and the training that awaits him. Johann stares at the metal piece, instantly recognizing it and thinking it's the same armor he saw in his dream. Despite the fear that the armor might lead him to death as in the vision, Johann decides to wear it with determination. Fully equipped with armor and a cape, Johann rises with a resolute gaze, ready to follow his path. In a bustling tavern, villagers gather to eat and drink. The atmosphere is one of celebration and lively conversation. One of the men praises Johann's nobility, while his table companion expresses his hatred, questioning why Gessen hasn't died yet. Overhearing the conversation, a hooded figure grabs their mug and intervenes, reminding everyone that Johann obviously spared his father. He slams his mug on the table, defending Johann's decision and questioning if they've forgotten that Gessen is still his father. In a lively tavern, a man climbs onto a table and toasts with enthusiasm, shouting for glory to Sir Johann, the righteous knight. Another patron approaches Johann's table, asking who he is and where he came from, as he's never seen him around. Johann observes from under his hood, noting the man openly bad-mouthing the local lord during the interrogation. A sinister hooded figure smiles, revealing that the man's story has piqued their interest. Terrified, the villager hears the figure demand he reveal everything he knows about a man named Johann Eitz. Far away, Johann strolls carelessly through a village at night, humming, unaware he's being investigated. Johann sees a fallen man, and thinking he's drunk, decides his duty as a future captain compels him to intervene and help. As he approaches, Johann suddenly feels something cold, his gaze sharpening as he realizes the situation isn't what it seemed. The man's hand grips his neck with sinister energy, and Johann realizes, shocked, he's fallen into a deadly trap. Alone in the village, Johann ponders a possible assassin, ruling out his father, Gessen, who would attack him personally. With a blade at his throat, Johann panics, wondering if his stepmother or Philip could be behind the attack. Johann's face contorts in silent terror, cold sweat beading as he realizes he's been caught off guard by an unknown enemy. The hooded assailant reveals he's not interested in money, stating it's something he has in abundance. Calling Johann by name, the mysterious figure declares he'll ask some questions, initiating a tense interrogation. Johann panics, thinking his insane assailant will kill him if he gives the wrong answer. Johann glares at the shadowy entity behind him, gripping his dagger and challenging it. "All right, come on!" The creature's words leave Johann utterly shocked and sweating cold, unable to comprehend his situation. Gritting his teeth, Johann is speechless, thinking to himself, unsure how to respond to that presence. The hooded man erupts in maniacal laughter, leaving Johann utterly shocked and confused by his reaction. Instead of cowering, a wild smile spreads across Johann's face. He seems energized by the challenge. The mysterious assassin recalls Johann Eitz's name, his eyes gleaming intensely behind the X-shaped scar. With a sinister smile, the governor declares the man before him now belongs to him, sealing his fate with a threat. Completely shocked by the sudden declaration, Johann is speechless, barely able to process what he just heard. The scene shifts to a man with a distinct X scar on his face, introduced by the name Kegel. It's revealed that Kegel perfected his own sword style, its deadly movements resembling a serpent's. The mysterious assassin recalls his quest, which led him to confront and eliminate members even within the Assassin's Guild. In a spotlight duel, he faces a knight who is thrown back by the force of impact, completely disarmed and defeated. Even gasping and wounded, the knight refuses to yield, declaring he'd rather die than dishonor his teachings by allying with him. With a swift, lethal move, the assassin cuts the knight in half, coldly responding to his refusal. "As you wish." By candlelight, a mysterious voice reveres Master Kegel, known for bringing peaceful death to all. A seer reveals the sought-after successor is in Eitz Castle's field, among the children of a drunken lord. Seated at the table with the mysterious assassin, the seer comments that a single gold coin can buy a good piece of land. The seer mocks her client, offering to return the coin if the prophecy isn't to his liking. The mysterious assassin slams the table and decides to trust the word he received, departing in search of his target. He travels through the night, aware that time is no longer on his side and he must act quickly. Observing the village, he doubts a successor exists there, but decides he'll kill him if he doesn't like what he sees. With no time to lose, he subdues a man who introduces himself as Kegal, master of the Nessos Guild. Lord Sudalgur presses Johann with a dagger at his neck, stating he has no other options. Johann reacts with astonishment and nervousness, breaking into a cold sweat at the mage's aggressive, unexpected proposal. Johann's expression turns to euphoria upon realizing a guildmaster will train him for free, considering it a stroke of luck. With shining eyes, Johann grabs the mage and calls him master, asking why he took so long to appear. The mysterious assassin grabs Johann, exclaiming he's waited his whole life for someone like him. Johann shouts that honor and shame don't matter, begging the man to accept him. Faced with the young man's determination, the mentor finally yields and agrees to train him. Now, as his disciple, Johann addresses the man and calls him master for the first time. Johann is euphoric at the prospect of earning money, his eyes gleaming at the thought of the reward awaiting him. Meanwhile, Gessen Yates mounts his horse, preparing to leave Yates' castle under the watchful eyes of his guards. Gessen announces the inspection is over and he'll be leaving for a while, receiving a formal farewell from his subordinates. Madame Yates smiles disdainfully from behind her fan, while Philip looks shocked by Johann's audacity. Tension rises between Madame Yates and Philip, who stare at Johann with evident anger and hostility. Hiding her face, Madame Yates declares with conviction that no matter what happens, the castle belongs to her. Philip, enraged by the resistance, glares at Johann and calls him pathetic, expressing his utter contempt. Gessen Yates angrily turns his back, ignoring Philip, who tries to call him father to stop him from leaving. Gritting his teeth tightly, Gessen's fury is visible, showing his utter contempt for the situation. With a deafening cry of silence, Gessen leaves Philip paralyzed with fear and unable to react. Philip kneels and apologizes to his father, stating he understood the order while Madame Yates watches with disdain. Meanwhile, the mysterious assassin hands a new sword to Johann, who thanks him, receiving the weapon for his training. The mentor stares at him suspiciously, thinking a boy known for breaking swords seems neither reassuring nor trustworthy. The mysterious assassin points the sword, contemplating killing Johann, who in turn responds with a smile, eager for combat. Beneath the night sky, Johann and the mysterious assassin face each other in combat stances, ready to begin the duel. Analyzing Johann's posture, the assassin questions his origin and decides that, despite everything, he might need to kill him. With a sinister smile, Johann anticipates the imminent confrontation, preparing for action as he murmurs, "Then..." With a battle cry, Johann charges and unleashes a powerful blow that explodes into a wave of pure energy. Observing the attack, the mysterious assassin is shocked, realizing the true and overwhelming extent of Johann's strength. As fragments scatter across the sky, the narration confirms that doubts about Johann's power were utterly baseless. A look of pure shock reveals the opponent's surprise, who thinks to himself incredulously, "This kid is..." With a confident and wild smile, Johann prepares for the attack, revealing his true and overwhelming strength. Johann throws a powerful punch that generates a shockwave, leaving Kumal incredulous at the demonstrated strength. Terrified, Kumal thinks that if that punch hits him, his bones and muscles will surely shatter. Despite his opponent's power, Johann prepares, adjusting his gear and resolving to continue the fight. Johann despairs, trying to predict where the attack will come from, but is surprised and struck by a swift blow from below. The mysterious assassin is impressed, thinking Johann is outrageous for not having fainted even after being struck with the flat of the blade. He compares Johann's body to that of a legendary hero from the age of mythology, leaving the young man completely shocked by the statement. Johann is stunned by Lord Sudalgur's terrible prediction, shocked by the idea that his power will lead to his death. Still on the ground, Johann questions the mentor, asking what he means by the statement that he will die without fail. Lord Sudalgur stares at him severely, declaring with certainty that Johann's own power will be the cause of his death. Standing up, Johann scoffs at the warning, saying he isn't stupid enough to be harmed by his own strength. With a serious gaze, the mysterious assassin stares at Johann, challenging him to prove his confidence and attack him once more. The assassin then offers the perfect reward, promising the gold coins Johann loves so much, instantly changing his expression. Johann is violently thrown backward, barely enduring the overwhelming force of his mysterious adversary's blow. As he defends himself, Johann realizes with frustration that the situation is identical to when he faced his father, Gessen. Johann stares, shocked, at the power fragment glowing in his chest, realizing something was intentionally placed in his body. He questions if it was intentional, and the assassin confirms that for a skilled swordsman, lodging the fragments was a simple task. With a look of pure determination, Johann focuses on his goal of survival and becoming captain, knowing he needs to control his strength. Motivated, he begins intense training, delivering violent blows with his sword to master his overwhelming power. Johann is shocked by the feat, thinking, he cut through armor with a scabbard? The mysterious assassin advises Johann to observe, saying that if he uses his strength with more precision, he will become so powerful it's hard to imagine, says the man with a sinister smile. Johann's master warns him about the severe training, questioning if he is prepared to risk his own life to become stronger. With a fierce and determined look, Johann accepts the challenge without hesitation, shouting that he is more than ready for his master's training. After training, Johann walks purposefully through a rustic village, heading to his next destination. He recalls the brutal lessons, where his only thought during combat was to focus on not letting his sword break. Johann is confused upon encountering the scene before him, questioning what is happening. As he approaches the gate, a guard stops him, questioning his presence in a restricted area. Irritated, Johann points at the guard and confronts him, asking who he is to send him away. The Aquitaine Wolves' mercenary corps reveals itself, an intimidating force of warriors with armor and shields marked with the wolf symbol. Two mercenaries laugh at the idea of Johann joining them, boasting that their pay makes a guard captain seem pathetic. Johann quickly blends in with the group, exchanging compliments and a thumbs up with a mercenary who values technique above all else. Upon seeing the payment of 2 gold coins, Johann is shocked, considering a career change as he realizes it's more than a captain earns. Johann stares at the imposing Imperial Knight Karamaf, whose golden armor and overwhelming presence create palpable tension in the air. Moved by pure instinct, Johann's hand shoots toward his sword, gripping the hilt with full force. With a focused gaze, he begins the movement to draw his blade, reacting to the threat viscerally and immediately. From atop his horse, Karamaf glares at Johann, his red eyes glowing, exuding an aura of power and menace. Johann swallows hard, sweating coldly under the menacing pressure, feeling imminent danger approaching. His opponent, a golden-armored elf, observes him with calculating calm, touching his own face in contemplation. He reveals himself as Karamaf, an Imperial Guard knight whose position alone is a display of power. Johann feels like prey before a predator, completely paralyzed by terror and the enemy's overwhelming aura. Johann's heart pounds under the pressure. He faces the situation with a tense expression, feeling the imminent danger grow. Johann is surrounded by guards who mock him upon noticing his nervousness. "What now?" "You're trembling," one says. A guard continues the taunt, telling Johann to be careful and sarcastically questioning if he'll even have a next time. Philip rushes, panicked, to greet the visitor. He introduces himself as heir of House Eights and asks Lord Karamaf what brings him there. Lord Karamaf arrives in his imposing golden armor, immediately admired by those present who comment on his beauty and grandeur. Madame Yates openly flirts with the knight, saying she would have married later if she'd known someone so wonderful would appear. Completely ignoring her, Karamaf walks away in silence, while Madame Yates, surprised, asks him to wait a moment. Philip, with an irritated expression, confronts the knight for his indifference, asking, "Lord Karamaf, are you listening to me?" Madame Yates and Philip receive the Imperial Knight Karamaf in their mansion, their tense expressions revealing the shock of the unexpected visit. Madame Yates reprimands Philip, stating that Karamaf, as an elite knight of the Empire, can address Gessen as he pleases. Karamaf tightly grips his sword's hilt, the tension evident in his gesture as the blade gleams with a sinister aura. The knight dismisses everyone from the room with a dry command, demanding only alcohol be brought so he can drink in peace. Knight Karamaf holds his sword with a cold gaze, declaring he will wait for his adversary inside the castle. As Karamaf watches from afar with seriousness, Johann prepares for the confrontation with a focused and determined look. During training, the mysterious assassin attacks and reprimands Johann, shouting for him to focus on the fight. Johann struggles to block a sword attack during his training, groaning from the force of the impact. His mentor reprimands him with a dagger in hand, questioning why he isn't focusing on combat. Johann explains he felt something strange when the Emperor's knights recently arrived in the village, which worried him. The mysterious assassin observes Johann with a severe and intense gaze, silently evaluating his pupil's concern. The mysterious assassin strikes Johann, reprimanding him for underestimating an opponent before the fight even begins. The master yells at Johann to know his limits, warning that he still can't even control his own strength. After the scolding, Johann prepares with his sword, showing a serious expression, ready to continue training. Johann charges again with a yell, frustrated. wondering why he still can't overcome his master. Johann realizes he can't attack blindly. He needs to feel the flow of power and concentrate it at his sword's tip. Wielding his sword, Johann gradually grasps the true meaning behind manipulating his strength, achieving a new understanding. The mysterious assassin watches in admiration, noticing that the sound of Johann's blade is becoming sharper and more precise. Johann grips his sword firmly, feeling this is the moment to apply everything he's learned so far in a single strike. Johann concentrates his strength, thinking he must apply it correctly, as his eyes glow with intense blue energy. He delivers a powerful blow and realizes, surprised, how dangerous the technique he just executed is. Wielding his sword, Johann celebrates euphorically, shouting to his mentor that he finally understood how to use the technique. As Johann whistles contentedly, the mysterious assassin thinks the young man's success was merely a coincidence. With an excited smile, Johann wields his sword, eager to begin training with his mysterious master. During combat, Johann releases a dark aura and manifests the advanced Serpent's Tongue technique against his mentor. After winning the duel, Johann celebrates, leaping with joy and shouting victory again, as the mysterious assassin watches him. The mysterious assassin is utterly shocked, wondering how Johann could master such a complex technique in so little time. Surprised, Johann questions his mentor's departure, who assures him he already possesses all necessary sword skills. The mysterious assassin admits with a serious gaze that, in less than a week, Johann managed to surpass his own strength. With training complete, the mentor encourages Johann to leave and live as he wishes, acknowledging his great effort. Around the campfire, Johann questions the mysterious assassin's departure, who confirms he never stays in one place for long. Johann asks his master about Red Blush, and the assassin identifies it as the feared group known as Black Wolves. With a serious look, the mysterious assassin warns Johann, stating that misfortune has no fixed form and can arise unexpectedly. The mysterious assassin explains to Johann that, to resist a certain power, only rare Danish steel will suffice. Sitting by the campfire, the mentor describes the striking appearance of Danish weapons, recognizable even from afar. Johann reacts with an expression of surprise and concern, understanding the difficulty of obtaining such legendary material. By the campfire, the mysterious assassin prepares to leave, as Johann asks, surprised, if he's already departing. The master offers grim counsel, instructing Johann to flee danger, but to kill by any means if a fight is inevitable. Johann watches in silence as his master's figure recedes and vanishes into the forest's darkness, leaving him alone on his path. With a clenched fist, Johann vows to remember his master's final teaching: fight if he cannot escape, and above all, survive. Knight Karamaf rejects the wine with disgust, deeming it rotten urine and ordering it removed immediately. As the bottle shatters beside her, Madame Yates remains impassive, a shrewd smile on her face. Madame Yates then informs Karamaf that the only superior wine is in Lord Gessen's chambers. Karamaf hears the suggestion to retire to a room, but his expression remains serious and impassive. A woman approaches seductively, covering her face with a fan and assuring him he won't be disappointed. With a cold, uninterested gaze, Karamaf rejects the woman's advance, dryly ordering her to leave. The woman is visibly shocked and offended by the rude, direct rejection, her confident expression vanishing completely. Karamaf, the elven knight, observes the scene with a cold, calculating gaze, preparing for the imminent massacre. With a sadistic smile, Karamaf crushes a guard's head, demonstrating his cruelty and overwhelming power without hesitation. Johann arrives and stops abruptly, shocked by the scene of destruction and death unfolding before his eyes. In complete horror, Johann stares at the carnage, sweat dripping as he processes the Imperial Knight's brutality. Ignoring the warning that the flames rage, Gessen Yates grinds his teeth in anger, determined to advance to the castle. Gessen impetuously reaches the castle gates, his horse rearing before the guards as he prepares to enter. The guards slowly open the gate, exchanging insults, one saying, "You really are as slow as you look." The doors open slowly, revealing a dark corridor as Gessen Yates' eyes widen at the sight. Gessen is paralyzed upon finding a corridor full of bodies, a brutal massacre having occurred in his own fortress. The victims' faces, frozen in pure terror, show the sudden and overwhelming violence they suffered. Suddenly, a gigantic golden foot descends forcefully, making Gessen recoil in panic before the colossal threat. Gessen grips his weapon's hilt, sweating coldly as he feels the tension in the air, facing the Golden Knight before him. Karamaf announces the sentence, accusing Gessen of conspiring to assassinate the Emperor and ordering the total eradication of his house. Gessen explodes in fury, yelling that it's all nonsense and they're using false accusations just to purge him. Karamef attacks furiously, yelling he would never allow his enemies to succeed in their plans. He then gives the order to sound the trumpet and raise the alehouse seal, sentencing everyone in the domain to death. Driven by the command, the army advances to completely erase the territory from the map, leaving no survivors. The order's result is immediate, with the village consumed by fire in a merciless massacre. A knight threatens Father Valberga with death, demanding Johann's whereabouts and promising to send him to his god. Suddenly, Johann emerges from the shadows and intercepts the knight's blow, preventing the priest's execution at the last second. With glowing eyes, Johann delivers a devastating counterattack, cleaving the knight and his armor with a single sword stroke. Amidst the chaos of the burning village, Johann holds a captured priest and demands to know what is happening. The answer leaves him shocked, leading him to question if his own father is also involved in the terrible attack. Witnessing the destruction, Johann realizes they must return to the castle immediately before everything is completely annihilated. Amidst the flames, Johann turns in shock, recognizing a voice that transports him to a memory from the past. He recalls finding Dell and, relieved, urges her to leave quickly as the place was dangerous. The memory ends with Johann being brutally shot by arrows to protect Dell, who screams his name in despair. Johann watches, paralyzed with horror, the village consumed by flames, a massacre unfolding before his eyes. Happy memories of villagers, like a grandfather with his granddaughter, are replaced by the sight of their lifeless bodies. He turns amidst the chaos, seeing more fallen villagers around him, victims of a merciless attack. An entire family that once smiled now lies dead on the ground, confirming the brutality of the retaliation against him. Amidst the destruction, Johann grabs little Dell by the shoulders, his face contorted in rage at the child's despair. Johann walks away towards the fire, ignoring Dell's pleas as she asks where he is going with sword in hand. Father Valberga holds Dell amidst the fire, screaming in despair that they cannot go that way. An imposing figure approaches amidst the destruction, his firm steps marking the scorched ground. Gessen Yates' decapitated head is publicly displayed, a shocking warning about the consequences of betrayal. Johann reads Captain Karamef's decree, which threatens to punish anyone who aids him, placing his allies in mortal danger. The knights mockingly recognize Johann, their leader questioning if he returned only to die by their hands. Johann crushes the enemy banner under his feet, a clear act of defiance against the authority confronting him. In a flash, Johann violently slashes the first soldier, who screams in pain as he is struck in the face. Giving no time to react, he continues his deadly advance, cleaving another guard's chest in a bloodbath. Amidst the blazing battlefield, Johann hesitates, questioning why he risks everything to return to the castle instead of fleeing. The voice of reason echoes in his mind, reminding him Father Valberga was right, and he should flee to not die in vain. Advancing among the bodies, Johann finds a dying guard pinned to a barricade and recognizes him, calling his name. Philip? Johann approaches a dying knight, who, surprised, questions him with his last breath. Why did you return? The knight removes his helmet and hands it to Johann, confessing his wish was to see him become a lord one day. With a grim expression, Johann silently accepts the burden and determination left by the knight's last wish. His father's memory advises him to flee danger, but Johann, kneeling, prepares for the coming confrontation. He holds the damaged helmet, a silent symbol of the battles that forged him and the perilous path he chose to follow. With a metallic click, Johann dons the helmet, accepting his destiny to fight instead of flee, ready for the imminent threat. Johann breaks down the doors, his blood-covered silhouette casting a menacing, silent aura over the hall. He faces the elf guards, who watch him with apprehension, noting his intimidating appearance and battle stains. The guards react in panic, questioning what the intruder's problem is and how he managed to pass the gate. With a furious roar, Johann unleashes a devastating punch while shouting Karamef's name. With a heavy step that cracks the floor, Johann's imposing presence heralds the start of a new bloody confrontation. Knight Karamef walks with firm steps towards Johann, traversing the scene of destruction to face his opponent. Karamef identifies him as Johann Eitz, but Johann coldly replies he's not in the mood for formalities. Johann clenches his fist and glares at Karamef, telling the knight to see him as someone absolutely furious with him. Karamef taunts Johann, stating he could have lived if he'd kept running, but he seems to not value life. With a swift and brutal movement, Johann attacks Knight Karamef, determined to end the fight as quickly as possible. Karamov manages to block the blow, but the impact of clashing swords echoes across the battlefield with devastating force. The pressure exerted by Johann is so immense that the Imperial Knight's blade begins to crack under the force of the impact. As Johann's strength doesn't wane, the crack in Karamav's sword widens, signaling the weapon is about to break. Knight Karamov mercilessly attacks his already fallen adversary, delivering a devastating blow with his shining blade. With a wide, sadistic grin, Karamov voices his thought aloud, finding the whole situation highly amusing. Imperial Knight Karamov raises his sword, poised for an overwhelming cross-attack. With a single strike, he shatters a stone pillar, effortlessly showcasing his overwhelming strength. Karamov's eyes gleam with interest as he deems the situation amusing indeed. Johann is thrown back by a devastating blow, his body writhing in pain from Karamov's overwhelming attack. Karamov slashes his opponent, and as blood splatters, he deems the fight absolutely delicious. Provocatively, Karamov demands more entertainment, mocking his foe, Johannites the bastard son. Johann lunges with a furious sword attack, but Karamov effortlessly blocks it with his golden gauntlet. Johann attacks with overwhelming force, shattering Karamov's golden armor, who barely reacts. Surprised, Karamov attempts a counterattack, but Johann blocks the blade with unexpected speed and force. After the exchange, Karamov stares at Johann, panting and shocked by his opponent's resilience and power. Karamov stares in shock at his golden gauntlet, questioning how the legendary invincible Danis armor shattered. As his opponent hesitates in shock, Johann tightens his grip, preparing his next strike. In utter disbelief, Karamov thinks it impossible for a mere human to break the Danis armor. Giving the enemy no time, Johann charges, their blades clashing fiercely, sparking in battle. Johann and Karamov's weapons clash with explosive force, creating a violent stalemate echoing across the battlefield. Karamov underestimates his opponent, thinking Johann a mere brute, attacking wildly and without finesse. Confident in his supposed technical superiority, Karamov advances with a determined gaze, continuing his relentless attack. The knight advances with a thrust, thinking Johann too inexperienced to even parry a simple blow. Upon blocking, he questions if Gessen Yates never taught Johann swordsmanship, as he fights without apparent technique. The knight stares at Johann, realizing his danger, concluding he must end the fight swiftly. Johann blocks the blow firmly, eyes fixed on his adversary as blades clash with an intense gleam. With a swift counterattack, Johann shatters the knight's defense, throwing him back utterly defeated by the impact. Karamov launches a devastating attack, conjuring an energy serpent that furiously lunges at Johann. With his bare hands, Johann blocks Karamov's blade, generating an energy explosion from their brutal impact. The Imperial Knight's weapon cannot withstand Johann's superhuman strength, shattering from the violent impact. Johann seizes the opening, landing a devastating blow on Karamov, who is stunned by the attack's unexpected force. Johann channels his strength into a single fist, poised to unleash a devastating strike against the knight Karamov. Johann's punch violently connects with Karamov's face, the impact generating an explosion of golden energy. The Imperial Knight's helmet shatters completely, unable to withstand the overwhelming force of Johann's attack. With his face exposed and wounded, Karamov roars in fury, shocked and enraged by his opponent's audacity and power. Karamov's eyes widen in shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend the fatal blow he just received from Johann. Standing over his enemy, Johann watches coldly as Karamov's life drains from the open wound in his chest. Karamov stumbles backward, impaled by Johann's sword, as both groan in pain from the decisive blow. Completely defeated, the Imperial Knight Karamov collapses to his knees, his resistance finally broken. Johann glares at his fallen enemy and angrily confronts him, questioning, "Why did you do this?" Karamov grips his sword, aware that the Empire is in a precarious state and His Majesty had to act to resolve the situation. With a wounded, determined gaze, the knight prepares for combat, himself a weapon known as the Karamov blade. Johann stands tall as Karamov, defeated, leans on his sword, groaning in pain after the overwhelming attack he endured. Shocked, Karamov admits to himself that in all his decades of battle, he has never encountered anyone so powerful. Karamov stares at Johann, sweating under pressure as he prepares his offer on behalf of the Empire, feeling the moment's tension. Johann listens to the proposal as Karamov asserts that the Emperor needs someone with his talent more than ever. The promise continues with the vision of Johann being knighted, an honor the Emperor himself would bestow upon him. Karamov makes his final plea, desperately shouting for Johann to become the Emperor's sword and fight by his side. With a blood-stained face, Johann glares at his opponent, the exhaustion of battle weighing in his determined gaze. Johann realizes that, even having the life he always dreamed of, now he feels nothing, only a profound emptiness. The Imperial Knight Karamaf appears, looking down on Johann amidst the destruction he himself caused. With a battle-grimed face, Johann glares at Karamaf with fury, yelling that he massacred innocent people who did nothing wrong. Surprised by Johann's fury, Knight Karamaf can barely believe what he hears, stammering a confused, "Wait." Karamaf cannot believe Johann is refusing for a reason he deems so trivial, while Johann remains resolute. Karamaf's fury explodes at Johann's refusal, and he grinds his teeth in a snarl of pure rage. Karamaf roars furiously, calling the servants he killed insects, and questioning if Johann's mother was also a commoner. Karamaf's words strike Johann, who hardens his expression, anger silently surging as he prepares to act. Johann clenches his fist so hard it bleeds, thinking to himself that, just this once, he will go all out. With a glint in his eyes, Johann charges with speed, delivering a powerful punch directly at the Imperial Knight. Johann clenches his fist tightly, focusing all his power for the decisive confrontation against the Imperial Knight Karamaf. Feeling power surge through his body, Johann prepares a devastating counterattack, ready to end the fight once and for all. Johann smashes Karamaf's head against the wall, ending the fight violently and definitively. As Karamaf calls him a fool in his last breath, Johann remains with his back turned, covered in blood. Karamaf's hand trembles as he laments that his opponent should have seized the chance he had. With his last breath, the knight curses Johann, saying that from now on only suffering awaits him. Before his fallen enemy, Johann reflects that, to survive in this world, he lived thinking only of money. But as his bloodied fist clenches tightly, his motivation drastically shifts due to a tragedy. He remembers his territory in flames, where invaders massacred his family, neighbors, and everyone he knew. With his face stained with blood, Johann reflects on the path he took, stating to himself that he will never regret his actions. His determined gaze reflects the surrounding flames, a mirror of his conviction and the fury that consumed him during the confrontation. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the elven knight Gustav and his soldiers arrive at an imposing gate, which slowly opens for them. Tormented, Yane remembers Johann's menacing figure, still in shock from the overwhelming power he displayed. A soldier informs Master Jan that the pursuit party is ready, and she, distressed, agrees to join them soon. Taking command, Yane addresses her troops and orders her message to be conveyed to the entire army. Amidst the pursuit, an elven knight's face contorts in a scream of pure fury and determination to capture her target. The elven commander incites her soldiers, declaring that they must hunt down the despicable lineage of a traitor. The elven knight Gustav roars furiously at his men, preparing them for a relentless hunt against a formidable enemy. He warns his soldiers never to confront Johann alone, instructing them to think of him as a dragon to be hunted. Gustav's strategy is clear, to relentlessly pursue Johann through the night until he is completely exhausted. The soldiers are shocked to hear the orders, remembering the terrible fate that Lord Karamaf suffered when facing him. Johann's determined gaze fixes on his goal as the tension of the chase reaches its imminent climax. A dying guard gives Johann escape instructions to his father's stables, pleading for him to survive. Exhausted and wounded, Johann finally spots the stable, questioning if he can reach his destination before collapsing. With arrows embedded in his back, Johann hides to catch his breath, pain and exhaustion evident. Exhausted, Johann decides to carry the heavy armor, thinking it will serve as a shield until he can shake off his pursuers. Johann finds his father's warhorse and stroking it, thanks the animal, calling it brother. Relieved, Johann realizes that with the horse's help, he can finally rest a bit on the saddle during his escape. Johann faces his new subordinate Philip, and with a slight smile says he eagerly awaits his services. Ready for escape, his spectral horse with glowing eyes awaits, an imposing and silent presence in the night. An elven knight shouts to his men, ordering a search after spotting Danis's light, certain their target is near. Night watchmen alert themselves upon hearing what sounds like hoofbeats, questioning the source of the sound in the darkness. Suddenly, Johann appears on his horse, leaping over the Imperial Knights in a swift and unexpected maneuver. Without looking back, Johann gallops through the forest, using his mount's speed to escape the stunned pursuers. Furious, the commander orders his men not to let him escape, pointing to where Johann vanished into the night. A squad of soldiers aims their rifles and fires a volley of shots in unison, attempting to bring down their fleeing target. Moving with impressive speed, Johann deflects bullets and arrows with his sword, escaping the deadly ambush unscathed. With a wounded face, Johann turns with a serious expression, beginning to ask a question about what he is receiving. He grips the purple sword firmly, revealing strange red runes engraved on the weapon's black blade. Observing the blade closely, Johann recognizes the inscription and wonders if it is ancient imperial script. Johann holds the fallen knight's sword, reading its engraved name, Seal Reclaimer, and feels a strange energy emanating from it. He reflects that the weapon's name is sinister and feels the sword is like a natural enemy to him and his lineage. Johann regrets having to bury the armor, but promises himself that one day he will return to retrieve it when the time is right. Exhausted, Johann finishes burying the knight and his weapons, but doubts it will be enough to erase his tracks and avoid pursuit. With the castle burned and penniless, Johann laments his uncertain future as his arms tremble from battle exhaustion. Suddenly a chilling sound interrupts him, and Johann turns to see a menacing presence with red eyes emerging from the darkness. Johann abruptly turns, sensing a menacing presence approaching from behind him in the darkness. Facing the wolf, Johann realizes he stands no chance in his current state, feeling his strength drain from his hand. Johann is shocked to recognize the Akitan wolves, wondering how they pursued him so far. Nearby, an elf soldier spots the commotion and alerts his comrades, pointing towards Johann. A monstrous wolf leaps at Johann, who looks up, paralyzed by terror at the surprise attack. Amidst the chaos, Johann defends against shadowy creatures, questioning aloud if it's a monster. Shocked by the enemy's overwhelming power, Johann is paralyzed, sweating cold and disbelieving what he sees. Johann plants his foot in the stirrup, preparing for a hasty escape after the confrontation that made him an outlaw. Urging his horse, Johann gallops furiously through the dark forest, leaving behind the life and territory he once knew. He rides without looking back, disappearing into the night to put maximum distance between himself and the Empire's reach. With brutal, relentless force, Johann smashes his opponent's face into the ground, decisively ending the confrontation. Immediately after the act, Johann vanishes into the night, moving at superhuman speed to escape any possible pursuit. Hidden, Johann realizes with despair that all escape routes are completely blocked by enemy checkpoints. Exhausted, Johann laments his disastrous situation, admitting he hasn't eaten or slept properly since becoming a fugitive. Feeling at his limit, Johann sees his pursuers and wonders if his fate is to be captured and executed. While hiding, Johann's expression shifts from despair to confusion as he observes the enemies in the distance. The caravan belongs to the Gitana Trading Company, led by the experienced feline merchant Eldens, who watches the road intently. Sensing his guard's tension, Eldens questions what's happening, as the mercenary looks ahead with concern. The mercenary Khan, face tense, informs Eldens that they must prepare for the approaching battle. The mercenary Gamson suggests the 9 of them can simply attack the target at once, believing it will be an easy, quick fight. Goran expresses his concern, pointing out that the target is heavily armed and mounted on a warhorse, unlike them. Johann appears in his dark armor, with glowing red eyes, emanating a powerful and menacing aura before the mercenaries. The leader points to Johann's waist, asking them to observe the sword, hinting it's a clear sign of the danger they face. One of Eldon's men complains, saying that with only 9 men, they are marching to total annihilation for nothing. Other mercenaries reprimand him with a slap, telling him to shut up and be quiet for he knows nothing. Eldons orders his men to be ready to attack at any reckless movement while he goes ahead to assess the situation. With a determined look, Eldons finalizes his plan, instructing everyone to attack all at once when he gives the signal. A one-eyed mercenary and his companion look ahead with tense expressions, preparing for an imminent confrontation. The one-eyed leader instructs his men, ordering them to unhorse the knight first if a fight breaks out. The merchant Eldons formally introduces himself, attempting to avoid conflict and asking for Johann's name to calm the situation. Inside his helmet, Johann realizes he's being scrutinized and concludes he needs to lower their guard to proceed. Mounted, Johann introduces himself and explains that his battered appearance is due to a bandit attack, requesting not to be viewed as a threat. The feline merchant, Eldons, chuckles in relief and apologizes for his rudeness, stating that as a traveling merchant, he understands the situation well. Johann then seizes the opportunity to ask to join the group, revealing that his travel funds were all stolen in the attack. Eldon scrutinizes Johann, deeming him strong and not overtly suspicious, thus deciding to trust the traveler. The merchant points to his caravan, informing them they are headed for Marseille and that the journey will be a long one. Johann thanks him for the kindness with a smile, but secretly ponders the location of this Marcel. Questioned by his guards, Eldens explains that Johann is merely a wanderer he's agreed to travel with for a time. A feline beast man orders his men to kill Johann without hesitation should anything occur, leaving his subordinates uneasy about the task. Disguised, Johann arrives at the checkpoint. He hopes to pass through quietly without drawing the guards' notice. The merchant Eldens introduces himself as a member of the Gatana Commercial Company, demanding to speak directly with the search commander. The guard is shocked, as the Gatana Company is headquartered in Marseille, a city even the Emperor dares not cross. With a sly smile, the guard explains that he is hunting a fugitive trader and requests everyone's cooperation. Guards surround Johann and, laughing, demand he remove his helmet so they can see his supposed smashed face. One of the guards approaches with a malicious smile, questioning if Johann is perhaps concealing anything. Suddenly, a guard blocks Johann's path, glaring intimidatingly and halting the wagon's advance. Eldens confronts the guard, questioning if they dare challenge his company and demanding their commander be brought forth. Eldens furiously points at the guards, threatening to lodge a complaint with the captain if they persist in obstructing his path. Fangs bared, Eldens' fury is palpable as he glares at the guards, refusing to yield to their intimidation. An intimidated elf guard begins to buckle under Eldens' pressure and suggests letting them pass to avoid trouble. Johann provokes the guard, calling him crushed head, but internally feels relieved to have passed without a fight. Johann watches the caravan depart, thinking he's finally escaping his old territory and pursuers. At dusk, Johann, hooded for disguise, warily observes the knights guarding the path, staying alert. The group camps under the full moon. A leader orders everyone to check gear and organize night watch for safety. Merchant Eldens hums contentedly, checking his inventory, examining a scroll before the caravan's goods. As the campfire crackles, a voice questions Johann's identity, directly asking his name. Unable to relax, Johann lies by the fire but stays alert, clutching his weapon, tormented by sleeplessness. With a sinister smile, Johann orders his men to surround the enemy from the hill and attack at once. In his nightmare, a recruit desperately tries to escape, but is seized by a mocking figure saying exit is not an option. Johann suddenly awakens, sweating and confused, wondering if the terrible experience was just a dream. Still gasping, Johann's troubled gaze reveals how real and impactful the nightmare of his past was. Anticipating the imminent clash, a warrior's hand clenches into a fist, concentrating power for what's to come. Johann stares at an arrow's tip, his wide eyes reflecting danger as his hands subtly tremble with tension. Meanwhile, an eye patch-wearing man observes, revealing only 5 minutes remain until the ambush alert. A young mercenary freezes in fear, thinking he never should have joined such a group upon seeing a single knight. Suddenly, the group spots more enemies approaching, and the youth panics, screaming that adversaries are coming. A veteran named Khan takes command, telling his companions to focus only on survival, as they'll handle the rest. Johann is utterly shocked by the enemy's sudden appearance, unable to comprehend what's happening around him. Confronting a formidable foe, Johann desperately yells for a shield, seemingly at a total disadvantage to create a diversion. With a shocked gaze, Johann grasps the gravity of the violent, unfolding surprise night attack around him. A horde of savage mercenaries advances with war cries, ready to slaughter their targets under Knight's mantle. The enemy leader orders his men to crush them with numerical superiority, shouting they have far more warriors. Amidst combat, Knight Laurent shouts that retreat means death, defending against an attack with determination. An enemy silences him with a violent punch to the face, yelling at him to shut up amidst the battle. Fallen and defeated, Laurent is about to be executed by an enemy raising his sword for the finishing blow. Johann charges the soldiers, delivering a devastating blow with his dark energy blade that cleaves through their defenses. A soldier barely reacts as his shield disintegrates before the overwhelming power of the attack, leaving him paralyzed with fear. An enemy is cut in half, and his companion watches in shock, thinking, "What is this?" He was sliced in an instant. Johann's sword glows with red runes as he advances, causing the remaining soldiers to retreat in terror before the sinister weapon. The enemies panic upon seeing Johann's weapon, identifying it as a demonic sword and doubting their chances of victory. The group leader, shocked and sweating coldly, stares at Johann's weapon, realizing the deadly danger they face. Johann points his blade at the terrified mercenaries and demands they surrender once and for all. With a furious gaze, Johann threatens them, stating that if they don't surrender, they will meet their end by his blade. A group of mercenaries surrounds their target, their leader shouting for his men to advance carefully. In an instant, the situation drastically changes, and the first sword clatters to the ground, signaling the start of their surrender. Immediately after, all other swords are thrown to the ground, showing the group's complete disarmament. Despite the men's surrender, Johann grips his sword's hilt firmly and begins to unsheath it. Johann holds a hostage and with a cold stare, orders Goran to tie the surrendered enemies to the ground. With an intense and determined look, Johann confirms the order with a grunt, making it clear there will be no mercy. Johann smiles and comforts a worried Eldens, telling him that the most important thing is for him to be safe. Johann smiles confidently at Ion and asks to borrow a shield for next time, treating the fight as trivial. Before the prisoners, Johann requests the mercenaries' help for an interrogation, and Ion allows him to proceed. A mercenary kicks one of the captured, yelling for him to walk faster, as Johann and Ion observe the scene. One of the prisoners is thrown to the ground at Johann's feet, who stares coldly, ready to begin extracting information. A survivor recalls with dread the night when a noble family's retainers were completely exterminated under flames. He remembers that House Britus was suddenly attacked and accused of treason against the emperor without any evidence to prove the crime. Terror set in when the noble executor joined the battle, and screams of despair echoed everywhere. It became clear there was no treason. The Empire just needed a pretext to purge people and a justification to release Karamov. Johann seethes at Karamav's hypocrisy, thinking the knight deserved to be beaten to death for his lies. After obtaining all necessary information from the prisoners, Johann signals his companion that the interrogation is over. At Johann's command, a man steps forward, shouting that he will beat everyone to death, initiating the execution of the captives. A violent, decisive blow strikes one of the prisoners' heads, silencing him brutally and immediately. The eye-patch knight awaits Johann's order, ready to execute the prisoners instantly if he commands. As he ponders, Johann's hand tightly grips his sword's hilt, revealing the weight of his decision. His decision to spare them shocks the villagers, and an indignant boy shouts, questioning why they should be allowed to live. With a serious gaze, Johann orders the bandits to listen carefully, preparing to make an unexpected proposal. He confronts the men, saying that though they only know how to use weapons, robbing merchants is an unacceptable act. Eldens is shocked by the offer, wondering how a noble could be willing to teach them skills. Exhausted, Johann thinks that he no longer wishes to get involved in trouble, while his companions cheer for him. The village chief is informed that Mr. Eldens from the Ketna Guild has arrived and agrees to receive him. The chief approaches Eldens' imposing figure, the Beastman merchant who awaits him outside. With a smile, the chief warmly welcomes Eldens, asking if he encountered any trouble on his journey. Eldens recounts worriedly that they encountered bandits on the road, stating that they are more violent because of the emperor. With admiration, Eldens describes the bravery of the noble who traveled with them, impressing the villager with his account. Laughing, Eldens thinks to himself that the noble hasn't lost his habit of acting without hesitation when confronted. Eldens continues his praise, declaring that the noble is brave, just, and protected them during the bandit attack. Del's father expresses his disbelief, shocked by the idea of a noble offering help without extorting anything in return, as Eldens reacts. The elder considers the situation, thinking that the presence of a knight in the village would be a great help with the recent surge in bandits. Grabbing Eldens, Del's father confronts him, reminding him that he himself had said that bandits were acting rampantly in the region. The village chief embraces the merchant, saying there's no need to trouble himself, while the other replies that they are the bargaining type. Johann, with a satisfied smile, tosses some coins into the air, stating that he has already secured his share, to his companion's surprise. Laurent turns in shock, completely incredulous at the small amount Johann took for himself after the battle. With a flushed face, Laurent clenches his fists, thinking that Johann's consideration for his subordinates is the true dignity of a knight. A group of men gathers with tense and suspicious glances, waiting for something to happen in the courtyard. A knight announces that Sir Johann has distributed the spoils profits, calling everyone to receive their share. Shocked, the men question the news, barely believing the profits are actually being distributed. The group's surprise turns into silent distrust as they exchange apprehensive glances. A crowd of men erupts in shouts of joy, raising their fists in fervent celebration for the victory achieved. A man enthusiastically announces Johann will distribute the spoils profit, telling everyone to form a line for their share. Johann arrives at the village, dirty and battle-weary, as the villagers desperately call his name. A villager recognizes him, asking if he is Lord Johann, approaching the newly arrived hero. Inside a tavern, a man demands to know why he's excluded, while guards observe the argument. A knight informs another, shocked, that there will be no share of the reward for him, denying payment. A man in the tavern snarls upon seeing Johann, determined to confront him personally while watching from afar. Suddenly, his eyes widen in shock, possibly upon hearing about Johann's plans or true power. Far away, Johann finds a craftsman late at night, being guided to receive a new, powerful weapon for his journey. With a satisfied smile, Johann feels confident with his new acquisition, ready for the challenges ahead. Johann sighs in relief and pleasure as he relaxes in a warm bath, finally getting a moment to rest his body. He reflects on how simple things, like a bed and warm water, can bring immense happiness, something he didn't value. Johann emerges from the water, thinking how he never imagined a fugitive's life without a roof would be so punishing. He recalls when he thought his noble life was difficult, realizing even sleeping on a bad bed was a blessing. Johann tries to console himself for surviving, but questions if his situation as an Empire fugitive is truly better. With his face in his hands, he laments and questions his decision, wondering if he should have accepted Karamov's offer. He faces the harsh reality, predicting that if he continues like this, he'll inevitably be captured and executed by the Imperial army. Suddenly, Johann has an epiphany amidst his worry, remembering something that could change his fate. Johann observes the guards and concludes they couldn't touch Eldons, questioning why. He deduces the mercenary band doesn't fear the merchant, but rather the powerful company he belongs to. Hunted by the Empire, Johann realizes that to live, he must ally with a trading company by any means. While Johann sleeps deeply in an inn, he keeps his sword close, a habit of one always in danger. Suddenly, an assassin with red eyes emerges over Johann, drawing a dagger for a silent attack in the dead of night. Instead of attacking the man, the assassin reaches out and grabs Johann's sword hilt, revealing his true target. In the dead of night, Johann reacts with surprising speed, stopping an assassin's blade with his bare hand. He subdues the intruder and questions him coldly, asking if he's one of Karamov's henchmen. Immobilized, the masked man despairs and screams for Johann to release him while trying to draw a dagger. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the inn, two people stealthily descend the stairs, passing someone asleep. Inside a stable, a young man tries to calm his imposing horse, telling it to settle down before they depart for the mission. One of the boys tries to argue, expressing his concern as he calls out to Gamson, who glares at him disdainfully. Hidden, two children watch the scene with wide eyes, shocked and confused by what's happening. Suddenly, Gamson is grabbed and dragged upstairs by a mysterious figure, while his friend screams his name in panic. Terrified, a man instinctively realizes something is terribly wrong, thinking they're screwed as he faces the intruders. As one man falls backward, he denies being who they seek, and the other furiously questions who these invaders are. A man on horseback finally arrives at the scene with a smile, looking relieved as he says he's finally found them. In a panic, a man orders his companion to mount the horse immediately, yelling that they need to prepare to flee right now. Riding in despair, one of the men shouts for them to ride faster, fearing a noble might be pursuing them. A close-up reveals a young man's face, completely paralyzed by terror at the chaotic situation unfolding. Dread is visible on the faces of the fleeing men, one of them spitting from effort and fear as they hastily escape. Driven by overwhelming fury, Johann launches himself from above in a surprise attack against his enemies. Far from the conflict, the night remains peaceful for others, who enjoy a warm meal without worries. As Eldon sips his tea, an attendant urgently approaches, saying an unexpected problem has arisen. Upon hearing the news, Eldons reacts with astonishment and spits out his drink, shocked by the information received. Completely stunned, Eldon stands up and shouts in disbelief, barely able to process what he's just heard. Eldon sits back down, frustrated, and laments that the situation has become so problematic and difficult to resolve. Eldons points furiously, ordering them to arrest Gamson immediately and to act as if they have no involvement in the situation. Elsewhere, a feline beast man appears distressed and exhausted, wiping sweat from his face in a moment of despair. Dell's father, in a meeting with other villagers, announces the meeting's conclusion as everyone sits at the table. A man runs desperately to alert his chief about a terrible situation, who immediately asks what the problem is. The chief slaps his face in despair, cursing the men who were caught and calling them useless wretches. Annoyed by the question, "What do we do?" the chief stands up and shouts at his men, taking control of the situation. He orders them to gather a tribute for the noble and to include one of the village slaves as part of the offering. The village chief faces the situation with a tense look, sweating coldly under the imminent pressure from his subjects. The villagers protest desperately, shouting that they will not surrender their children and confronting the chief's decision. Furious, the chief shouts at the villagers, questioning if they've forgotten the emperor's decree and don't understand the situation. A villager declares that, to survive, they need to attack the noble first, before it's too late for everyone. He rages, remembering that people were hanged just for demanding a chicken and 3 eggs as wages. Continuing his impassioned speech, the man gestures to a woman, trying to convince her of the danger the noble represents. While the villager fears the noble's retribution, Johann listens to their fears with a confident, calculating gaze. A man questions if Count Zarpen's territory is safe, expressing his distrust regarding the protection of any noble house. An older villager points aggressively, questioning if the others truly believe the nobles care about their lives. The tense conversation leaves a woman in tears, while the man beside her watches with an expression of concern and helplessness. The men lower their heads in silence, their sweaty faces reflecting fear and resignation before the harsh truth that was spoken. Dell's father takes a deep breath, his face etched with the anguish of a terrible decision he must make for everyone's survival. He apologizes for having to sacrifice others' children, stating that some children must die so the village can live. At night, the villagers gather in front of a large tree, preparing for the grim ritual that will decide their children's fate. Kneeling and bound, the youths chosen for sacrifice cry for their parents, while the crowd murmurs around them. Johann realizes his sword drew too much attention and decides that, from now on, he will keep it hidden to avoid trouble. As Johann rests after the battle, a villager timidly approaches him to speak, breaking his moment of peace. Dell's father, leading a group of villagers, greets Johann with nervous gratitude, thanking him for saving them. The bandits are captured and kneeling, while Johann observes and listens to the discussion about what to do with the looted belongings. A man prostrates himself on the ground, shouting that the fault is entirely his for failing to keep the others in line. Johann forgives him, thinking the demonstration was enough to scare them, and orders everyone to disperse. Unexpectedly, a man pulls out a dagger, shouting that this is precisely why he must act. Johann realizes his followers' fanaticism is worsening the situation and tries to intervene, shouting that he has no intention of allowing it. Ignoring him, a follower declares that whoever stained Sir Johann's honor deserves death, preparing to execute a prisoner. In a swift motion, the follower slits the man's throat, who screams in despair, begging his mother for forgiveness in his final moments. To stop the massacre, Johann grabs another hostage and presses a dagger to his neck, shocking the executioner with his unexpected action. The villagers watch the scene in terror, their hands clasped in panic as tension mounts in the town square. With a furious glare, Johann shouts that if they truly wish to pay for their crimes, he himself will make them pay. He glares at the man in the center of the square, who seems confused by the intervention, while the accused remain kneeling. With a clenched fist, Johann prepares to correct a misunderstanding, declaring he will rephrase his proposal to the villagers. With a fierce gaze and a shout, Johann imposes his final condition, making it clear his decision is unquestionable and non-negotiable. Hearing Johann's decision, the villagers cry in relief and embrace, with a mother begging forgiveness and joyful her son is safe. A villager is moved, realizing Eldon spoke the truth about an honorable noble's existence and regretting his doubt. The youth who caused the trouble begs Johann for forgiveness, admitting he was tricked by a scoundrel and failed to recognize his honor. Observing the hostages, Johann coldly states that, were another knight in command, they would not have a peaceful death. An eye-patch-wearing man approaches the group, and the bound youth urges him on, asking if the others have finally arrived. A man is caught and choked, thinking he was trapped this time but would succeed next, until he's suddenly surprised. His captor, an eye-patch-wearing man, looks at him coldly and advises him to relax his body before the final blow. The prisoner's face twists in pure terror and agony as he realizes his imminent end will be brutal and inescapable. Johann looks back with a serious, penetrating expression, feeling the tension rise around him. His face twists in shock as he witnesses a cold-blooded execution right before him. The bloodied dagger drips after the brutal act, a direct challenge that ignites Johann's wrath. Johann, Eldons, and the others are shocked by the sudden execution, observing the scene with expressions of pure horror. The mercenary captain, named Sir Johann, maintains a serious, impassive expression after committing the public murder. He justifies himself to Johann, stating he was merely protecting his mercenary troops' honor and rules. With a determined gaze, Johann unsheathes his sword, the metallic sound echoing as he prepares for the imminent confrontation. The mercenary Khan extends his sword, stating he will take full responsibility for the consequences of his actions. Johann observes the scene, recognizing Khan is risking his own life to defend a mercenary's honor. The crowd, including Eldons, watches in shock as a young man murmurs Khan's name with evident concern. Johann places his hand on his chest and sincerely apologizes, confessing he hadn't considered the mercenary's position. The mercenaries gape, utterly shocked by the idea of a noble apologizing to them. Before the fallen men, the mercenary leader thanks Sir Johann for his understanding, accepting defeat and ending the conflict. Leader Khan is reprimanded for his recklessness in challenging a noble and swears never to repeat such folly. The merchant Eldons is shocked by Johann's attitude, thinking to himself that this noble is completely unlike any other he's known. Johann looks back, apprehensive, realizing the girl he saved now accompanies him on his dangerous journey as a fugitive.
Facing the girl's innocent smile, Johann thinks with resignation that he now has another mouth to feed during his escape. Dell's father offers Johann a pouch of coins as the village's gratitude, leaving him confused by the unexpected gift.
Johann finds a valuable pocket watch among the coins and wonders, surprised how such a precious item ended up there. Someone orders them to care for the newly acquired boy, offering him a bath and food as the group prepares to depart. Johann feels uncomfortable with the idea of commanding a slave, finding the whole situation wrong and noticing something strange in his eyes. At night, the group celebrates around the campfire, thanking Sir Johann for the meal, but are warned to stay away from alcohol. Goiden approaches the campfire and offers Johann a meal, saying, "I brought your food," to which he thanks him. Johann dismisses the formal treatment, asking Goiden to drop the title of master and call him by name.
Sitting by the campfire, Johann asks Goiden how someone with such knowledge of the terrain ended up as a slave.
After hearing about Johann's life, Goiden asks, surprised, if bad things can also happen to nobles.
Johann asks the young girl to tell her story first. The girl, surprised, agrees to speak with him. With a panicked expression, the girl reveals it was a noble who ordered her to do the task. Johann analyzes the situation, recalling that gold smuggling leads to the death penalty, and questions her motives. The young girl begins to tell her story, explaining she delivered the gold exactly as the noble had instructed, believing his promise.
However, she reveals she was betrayed and denounced by the noble himself, being publicly accused by guards while in disguise. With a forced, trembling smile, the girl tries to deny the painful reality of betrayal, but her expression reveals deep shock.
Sitting by the bonfire, Johann tells a child not to apologize, as a dark energy consumes something in his lap. With a serious and concerned look, Johann prepares to explain the harsh reality of the world they live in. He thinks of the despair of people driven to the point of having to sacrifice their own children to survive.
Johann calls the girl Goiden, who responds in surprise but quickly treats him with respect, calling him Master Johann. A young girl, blushing nervously, musters courage and proposes to Johann that they try to survive together.
Their rest is interrupted when a guard leaps over the bonfire, warning Sir Johann about a monster that appeared nearby.
The girl reflects on Johann's proposal, pondering the words survive and together in her thoughts with a shy gaze.
With an intense and focused gaze, Johann confronts the situation, ready to intervene and face the imminent danger. Johann suddenly appears, and his companions warn him to get down, but he remains standing, imposing.
Johann's companions react with shock and confusion, not understanding his confidence in the face of the threat.
Johann enters the red glowing forest while the guards watch, one of them concerned if he'll truly be fine alone against the monsters. The veteran guard decides not to follow, remembering their mission is to protect Mr. Eldons and they cannot take further risks. Deep within the forest, Johann closes his eyes and concentrates, for he can already sense the approaching danger.
Johann extends his hand to the shadowy creature, thanking it for saving his life and inviting it to follow him. The knights watch the scene, shocked, and one of them questions aloud if Sir Johann has the ability to tame monsters.
Johann calmly faces the enormous beast, which sniffs him closely without him showing any fear of the creature.
The beast licks Johann's face, who asks everyone to calm down while he himself wonders who the creature is.
Observing the scene, the merchant Eldons is ecstatic, with an expression of pure joy and enthusiasm.
Johann reacts with surprise, questioning in his thoughts if he truly is the Herald of Dawn. The merchant Eldons begins to explain, mentioning an ancient Eastern Empire song that tells the story behind the title.
The story begins with a blue-eyed wolf shining in the darkness, leading a charge on the battlefield to everyone's astonishment.
At the end of the war that divided the continent, the warrior brought peace but met his end as a hero, buried with honor.
Johann is perplexed when the enormous creature licks him affectionately, and he questions if Eldon's misunderstood the situation.
Still skeptical, Johann observes the creature and wonders if that docile being could truly be the legendary creature they spoke of. Johann approaches the furious Fenrir and, to Eldon's astonishment, treats it like a good boy, taming the beast with his words. Shocked by the scene, Eldon shouts for them to wait, as a crucial memory about divine beasts surfaces in his mind.
He recalls an ancient legend from the Eastern Empire. Naming a divine beast that follows you transforms it into your familiar. Connecting the dots, Eldon wonders in disbelief if that southern bumpkin isn't in fact a legendary hero. Eldon gestures enthusiastically, excited by the possibility of an ancient legend coming true through Johann. Surprised, Johann questions if something so incredible could truly happen, doubting the veracity of the legend Eldon mentioned.
Meanwhile, an elf knight thinks of Johann, recalling that the last time he saw him was while burying the imperial knight Karamov. Eldon is shocked to hear the name, wondering with dread how Johann could know him.
Immediately, a dark, malevolent presence with glowing red eyes manifests, emanating a powerful aura.
The demonic entity condenses its energy, preparing a light spell as its terrifying presence intensifies. Johann and Eldon watch a pillar of blue light ascend to the heavens, impressed by the display of power unfolding before them.
Johann's eyes widen at the unbelievable scene, and he can only think, wow, before the immense energy released.
From within the light, a colossal wolf-shaped spiritual creature manifests, staring at them with glowing eyes and a menacing aura.
An imposing dark beast with a blue aura emerges, digging its claws into the ground with a heavy, threatening step.
Without showing fear, Johann extends his bandaged hand towards the creature, initiating cautious contact.
Petting the beast, Johann smiles and names it Karamov, stating he's counting on its power for the future. The new Karamov licks his hand, and Johann is surprised by the docile gesture, finding the situation truly incredible.
As he prostrates himself, the wolfman thinks in wonder that it's the first time he's seen a myth come to life before his eyes. Johann emerges with his divine beast aura, while the confused wolfman declares he respects him since the moment they met. With a surprised look, Johann hears the wolfman proclaim him as the hero chosen by the divine beast for these difficult times. A young woman is shocked to see Johann's power, questioning if he is the great hero of these difficult times. Johann sighs, appearing exhausted by the acclamation, dropping the heroic pose others saw in him.
Eldon despairs on the ground, apologizing, while Johann approaches to speak with the feline merchant. With a cunning smile, Johann denies being a hero, revealing his intentions are different from what they imagine. Johann smiles and apologizes for disappointing him, but Eldon, startled, stutters that he's not disappointed in the slightest. As a way to return the kindness, Eldon offers Johann an introduction to the Marcel Merchant Guild. Eldon begins to passionately describe the guild, gesticulating as he emphasizes the most crucial point of his offer.
Johann smiles, envisioning a new beginning as a merchant in a place where the emperor cannot reach him and trade flourishes.
Beside him, Eldon worries that the strange rumors of a hero will spread to the guild, commenting on Johann having named the wolf. Johann reflects with a somber gaze, thinking that, in this life or the last, he is merely a wanderer trying to protect himself. With a resolute look, Johann affirms to himself that, by his own will, he will advance step by step.
Upon reaching the city, Johann smiles, thinking he never imagined he would be able to return to this place again.
Walking down a bustling street, Johann decides that, being in the city of merchants, he should first do some shopping. On the eve of entering the city of Marcel, Johann stands before the lupine spirit creature for a conversation that will define both their futures.
With a serious look, Johann faces his companion, preparing to explain why its presence in the city would be a major problem for everyone.
He then explains that a monster like the creature would cause panic in the city, trying to justify the difficult decision he must make.
With glowing eyes and bared fangs, the spirit creature reacts with fury, clearly displeased at the possibility of being abandoned. Johann is shocked and speechless, witnessing the creature's transformation, his eyes wide in pure surprise.
Johann, perplexed, asks aloud if the creature's shrinking is one of the sacred beast's abilities. Delighted by the beast's new cute form, Dell runs and hugs it with a radiant smile on her face.
Johann expresses his concern about the animal's size, questioning if there will be problems, while the girl beside him smiles, enchanted by the new companion. With a dirty and tired face, Johann hears himself called Lord Johann, his serious expression reflecting the burden he carries on his journey. The girl sighs in relief at the ready luggage, thinking incredulously that Johann managed to resolve everything with just a single silver coin. After the successful sale, Johann's young companion opens the pouch, marveling at the profits they made together. She looks at Johann and declares with conviction that, by meeting him, she finally ceased to be a slave.
With a face radiant with happiness, she continues, stating that she would have stayed with him even if she hadn't been a slave. Johann smiles, satisfied, and says he is counting on the girl, whom he calls Goiden from now on.
Johann's companion excitedly shouts for him, her face flushed with happiness at the chance to finally enjoy the city. In a bustling tavern, Johann bites into a piece of meat, finally enjoying a warm and savory meal after days of hardship.
He thinks the dried meat from the road felt like leather, but the food in Marcel is tender and melts in his mouth. Johann enjoys a hot bath, happy to be able to have this luxury whenever he wants, unlike his difficult life as a wanderer. Snuggled under the covers, he delights in the idea of sleeping in a warm, soft bed, something he hadn't had in a long time.
With eyes shining with happiness, Johann decides that life in Marcel is the best and that he has finally found his place.
Johann walks through the city streets thinking how good it feels to walk in peace after so long without comfort.
His calm is interrupted when he notices something wrong and his expression turns serious as he thinks, "This is bad."
He hears citizens complaining that bandits have stolen supplies, leaving everyone fearful of what tomorrow will bring.
His young companion is visibly frightened by the stories of bandits, covering their mouth in shock and worry.
In the market, the elven knight Gustav intimidates a merchant, shouting, "I said I'd pay you later. Do you know who I am?" As Johann watches, Gustav is desperate and in disgrace. As it's revealed, he lost his entire main unit while hunting for Johann. Johann recognizes the knight as one of the wolves of Aquitaine and realizes, alarmed, that he's been tracked here. This is bad, he thinks.
Analyzing the situation, Johann understands the danger and concludes that fighting in the middle of the city will bring him no benefit.
With a swift and lethal movement, Johann draws his sword and cuts down multiple bandits at once, protecting the travelers around him. The caravan members, who were previously cowering in fear, now stare in complete shock at the carnage that unfolded in an instant.
A man on horseback observes the scene, commenting that with such poor public safety, all sorts of scum appear on the roads. A man approaches Johann and greets him as a wanderer, amicably asking if he is wounded. The mercenary displays a wide, confident smile, showing a calm and assurance that contrasts with the surrounding situation. Under their company's banner, it's revealed they are one of the Empire's leading and most well-known mercenary groups. With a determined gaze, Johann faces the harsh reality of his situation, remembering the threats that haunt his path.
He clenches his teeth, forcing himself out of his dark thoughts and remembering that he is now a fugitive of the Empire.
Despite the chance to interact with the guild, Johann is haunted by the fear of his identity being revealed prematurely.
He imagines the worst-case scenario, being discovered, captured, and summarily executed for his crimes against the Empire.
His thoughts are interrupted by Yvelka, a beast woman who introduces herself as the exclusive maid of the Gitana Guild.
Johann reflects on his arrival at the merchant group, aware that this place is his best chance to turn the tide. His wait is interrupted by Eon, who approaches and mentions that Sir Eldons has already spoken quite a bit about him. Surprised, Johann turns to Eon, who formally greets him, saying it's an honor to finally meet him.
Jan, the branch manager of the Gitana merchant group, introduces herself to Johann, expressing it's a pleasure to meet him. She invites him for tea to discuss business details, and Johann readily agrees to the plan.
As she serves the drink, Eon hopes the item imported from the Mediterranean region will please Sir Johann's palate.
Johann tastes the offered drink and, surprised, realizes it's coffee, a rare and familiar item from his previous world. The feline manager, Ion, praises Johann's sharp perception, confirming it's a special tea made from roasted seeds.
With an enigmatic expression, Ion prepares to reveal the true reason behind the special treatment and the rare beverage. Eon stares at Johann with shocked eyes, leaving him utterly confused and unable to understand her reaction to his words.
Having no idea what she's talking about, Johann covers his face and decides to simply agree and go along with the conversation for now.
With a friendly smile, Eon reassures him, stating that ambition is, in fact, a virtue for those who are worthy.
She approaches with a shrewd gaze, revealing that her merchant group loves to support the ambitions of those with potential. Jan leans in with a smile, offering to introduce Johann to the powerful governor of Marseille to secure his support.
Intrigued yet cautious, Johann leans in and asks Eon to explain exactly what the offered sponsorship entails.
Jan details the benefits, explaining he'll have unrestricted access to all guild services, such as restaurants and entertainment. Johan firmly refuses the mission, his expression serious as he denies the request to deal with the mountain bandits. Ian informs Johan that mercenaries have already been dispatched, revealing she has a different, more specific plan for him.
Confused by the change of plans, Johan questions Eon, wanting to know what true task she has for him. With a dark, presumptuous smile, Eon indicates that the mission she has in mind for Johan is far more dangerous. Eon reports that merchants are furious, accusing the Gitana group of monopolizing the market and becoming a major nuisance. A beast woman reveals her soul, cruel condition with a sinister smile. If possible, the children of their targets must also be included.
Johan listens to the grim proposal in silence, with a serious expression as he assesses the dangerous situation presented to him.
Johan's face hardens. His determined gaze shows he understands the gravity of the cruel proposal he just heard.
Johan returns to the Grand Cathedral, walking towards the main entrance with a serious and focused demeanor. A young companion greets him animatedly, asking Johan how the meeting with the merchant group went.
With his face shrouded in shadows, Johan remains silent, his grave demeanor indicating something is wrong. With a wicked smile, Johan prepares for the next move in his plan to acquire wealth.
He shouts, declaring they will live a life of luxury driven by ambition. The girl beside him, however, is terrified as she realizes the dangerous nature of his plan.
Moments earlier, Johan had been seriously detailing his strategy, setting the stage for what was to come. Furious men shout, revealing the conflict began with a simple complaint about a goods distribution monopoly. With a look of contempt, Johan questions how they could kill innocent people for such a trivial, purely commercial reason. Yaon is visibly shaken, witnessing the intensity and coldness in Johan's judgment of the situation.
With a serious expression, Ion stares at Johan, processing the ruthless nature he displays in the face of injustice.
With eyes glowing blue, Johan prepares for confrontation, facing the challenge the merchant guild imposed on him. Manager Eon gives a smug smile, satisfied with the outcome of her test to evaluate the knight's character.
Johan is stunned by the revelation, realizing he fell into an elaborate test to prove his worth and character.
Ion refutes the accusations, explaining that her guild actually offers high-quality products at fair prices. Eon explains to Johan she's not sending him to war, but proposing a strategic partnership. Johan listens to the proposal, but his expression turns serious as he thinks of the warriors he'd have to ally with. With a confident smile, Eon extends her hand, inviting Johan to join her in the endeavor.
Johan enthusiastically accepts, extending his hand to seal the deal and declaring, "All right, I'm in."
Johan's companion questions him about his suggestion to live the good life, not understanding his plan.
With an excited smile, Johan explains his idea of the good life is simply to eat something incredibly expensive to celebrate.
Johan walks triumphantly, confirming things went well and announcing he finally secured sponsorship from the merchant group.
Watching the sunset, Johan smiles, thinking everything is falling perfectly into place since getting sponsorship upon arriving in Marseille. He clenches his fist, confident that the Oak mercenaries will soon eliminate the local bandits, bringing peace back to the region.
Johan stretches, feeling the happy life he dreamed of is within reach and it's time to relax and enjoy. As Johan walks through the city, a terrifying scream echoes through the streets, abruptly breaking the peace and signaling imminent danger. Johan encounters bodies in the street and, shocked, questions what's happening while residents watch him in despair. A man approaches Johan amidst the chaos, and the protagonist recognizes him as Goran.
Goran urgently explains that the bandits around Marseille are becoming increasingly depraved and violent. Johan hears the commotion and tenses, realizing the gravity of the situation unfolding outside. An enraged crowd protests, shouting that the bandit problem remains unresolved and the city must be held accountable.
Amidst the chaos, a noble panics, breaking into a cold sweat as accusations ripple through the mob. The argument intensifies as one man accuses the emperor of senility, while another fervently defends him, demanding respect. Johan expresses his irritation, thinking the situation is becoming a complete mess because of the bandits.
He rages further, questioning what on earth the mercenaries are doing to let the situation reach this point.
Meanwhile, Eun is interrupted in her office by a maid who alarmedly announces a major problem. Eun is shocked by her maid's account, unable to believe what she's hearing, stammering, "What?"
The maid recalls a scene with dismembered bodies hanging from a tree, describing it as truly horrific. Ion slams the table forcefully, startling the maid, who immediately responds, "Yes?" intimidated by her boss's reaction.
With an intense gaze, Aion reveals the terrible event occurred due to someone's prophecy, hinting at a larger plan. Lord Sudelger uses his magic to observe a vision in the water and realizes something important, saying to himself, "Ah, I see. Under the moonlight, Lord Sudelger warns that searching for the Carvalho is futile, as they are looking in the completely wrong direction for the solution.
The magical vision focuses on Johann's face, revealing him to be the true focus of the mage's interest and concern.
Lord Sudelger emerges at the entrance with an imposing presence, his silent steps announcing an imminent confrontation. He interrupts the terrified maid's excuse, calmly stating it won't be necessary, his hand firm on her shoulder. The maid freezes in fear, unable to finish her sentence before the mage's intensity. With an icy gaze, Lord Sudelger reveals his hostile intent, all while being watched from the shadows by a vigilant eye.
Lord Sudelger, a man with a long white beard, arrives at the scene, claiming to have been guided by the voice of the Ifael River. With a serious gaze, Sudelger questions how Johann could know the secret that Karamaf was a divine beast. Johann observes the old man with disdain, realizing he doesn't recognize him, even after asking for his identity. The sage then formally introduces himself with a gesture, revealing his name, Sudelger, a sage of the Ifael River.
Johann enthusiastically grabs Lord Sudelger, exclaiming, "It's a pleasure to meet him," as he always dreamed of meeting a mage. Following a shocking revelation, Johann panics and demands to know how Lord Sudelger discovered his secret.
Johann stares at Lord Sudelger with suspicion, directly asking if the mage intends to report him as a fugitive to the Emperor.
Johann enthusiastically grabs Lord Sudelger's hands, leaving the old mage perplexed by his sudden excitement. Lord Sudelger observes the gleam in Johann's eyes, suspiciously wondering what that fool is thinking. The mage remains confused, questioning why a knight would be so excited by a conversation about magic.
Desperate, Johann grips Lord Sudelger's hands, pleading for the chance to learn magic and increase his odds of survival.
Lord Sudelger considers the request and, with a cunning look, tells Johann he sees no harm in teaching him. However, he imposes a condition. Johann must win a single round of a game of chance to prove his worth. Unsure about the game, Johann suggests an alternative that favors his strength, proposing a simple arm wrestle.
Johann is surprised to realize the game proposed by the mage is Go, a challenge he did not expect to face.
He clutches the pot of stones, thinking that, though he doesn't know the old man's skill, his victory is necessary.
With a confident smile, Johann focuses, thinking he must win this match, no matter what.
Lord Sudelger stares at Johann seriously, as the young man, visibly tense and exhausted, awaits the powerful mage's answer. The pressure is evident on Johann's face. He can barely hide his nervousness under the old master's piercing gaze. Johann points with an intense gaze, warning not to underestimate the challenge that lies ahead.
Lord Sudelger begins his lesson, explaining that mages are those who uncover the hidden mysteries within nature.
He continues, revealing that mages borrow power from elemental spirits to cast their spells. With a shocked expression, Johann asks Lord Sudelger about the nature of the mysterious vials before him.
At an outpost, a mercenary's eyes widen in pure terror, sweating cold at a shocking and inexplicable sight.
Sword in hand, the mercenary leader screams in terror at his men, asking what kind of hell this is. A mercenary stares into the dark forest and encounters a sinister presence whose red eyes glow menacingly in the gloom.
The darkness reveals its owners, a hooded figure and a monstrous beast, both with red eyes that promise a violent death.
In a panic, the leader shouts that this is not the work of bandits, realizing the true nature of the threat they encountered.
Johann holds two mysterious potions, one red and one green, which glow in his hands as he examines them carefully. Lord Sudelger reveals he spent his life trying to unravel the mysteries of life and death hidden in the waters of the Ifael River. The mage's revelation leaves Johann perplexed, not fully understanding what the river's secrets mean for his journey. Johann smiles, thanking him for the magical items received. He holds a potion, thinking it's a great safety net. Aion addresses Lord Sudelger, questioning if she was called there because of a prophecy, showing her surprise.
She explains that the Oak mercenary group was sent on a mission, but they vanished, and there has been no news since.
After hearing the details, Johann accepts the job with a serious expression, simply stating that he understood the situation. The governor enters the meeting room extravagantly, announcing with a smile that he is a little late for the gathering.
Johann formally introduces himself before the city council, beginning his plan to gain influence and a new home. Johann realizes he needs Vidako's approval to protect himself from the Emperor and plans to make a good impression at all costs.
Velako addresses Marcel's most prominent families, thanking everyone for their presence at the important council meeting.
With a smile, Vyako interrupts the start of the meeting to announce he will introduce a special noble to the council.
Johan faces an intimidating panel of masked figures, feeling the immense pressure of the judgment about to begin. With a smile, Johan formally introduces himself, stating it's an honor and promising to do his best to impress them.
The judges assess him in silence, tapping their fingers in a synchronized gesture that heightens the tension in the room. Despite his confident facade, Johan sits, sweating coldly, anxiously awaiting the verdict in an uncomfortable silence.
A noble insinuates that if they had sought help from the Holy Empire from the start, the bandit problem would already be solved. The anti-imperial faction explodes, shouting that the emperor is to blame for the bandits and should reduce taxes as compensation.
In response, the pro-imperial faction furiously defends the emperor, accusing their opponents of blasphemy for their words.
Johan watches the chaos with a tired smile, thinking how annoying politicians are and how his ears ache from the argument. Consul Vlaco surprises everyone with his appearance, displaying a smug smile that leaves the meeting room tense.
Johan is visibly shocked by the consul's unexpected presence, realizing the situation is now far more dangerous.
Yaon stands to object, trying to remain calm, while Vlaco watches her with a smile of superiority and satisfaction. Ion confidently announces with a smile that she has already formulated a follow-up plan to definitively handle the situation.
The nobles react with shock and disbelief, loudly questioning the sudden proposal to form a second subjugation force. The governor, twisting his mustache, praises the decision, calling it wise and, above all, advantageous to his interests. He rejoices at the prospect of being able to send his army at any time, consolidating his power in the region. Vlaco maintains a satisfied smile, while Johan, desperate, mentally pleads for the consul to refuse the governor's offer.
Vlaco's smile widens, revealing his confidence and the pleasure he feels in completely controlling the situation. He reveals his plan, stating that with the emperor occupied by rebellions, he wishes to lighten his burden. Vlaco then announces he will form a new mercenary unit, making sure to include Sir Johan in his plans. The governor smiles maliciously, confident the emperor will recognize his loyalty after his talk with Vyako. Johan feels he narrowly escaped one problem, but an uneasy feeling warns him the danger hasn't passed.
He observes the closeness between the governor and Vyako, realizing the pro-imperial alliance might be a trap.
As Eon watches them, the group is invited to a small reception, led inside the mansion. Vlaco asks for a moment with Johan, who agrees to accompany him, rising from the table with a cautious, surprised expression. Suspicious, Johan thinks that if Vlaco is pro-imperial, he'll give vague answers and immediately flee the situation. Vlaco invites him to his office, and Johan follows, aware he's entering potentially dangerous territory. With a courteous smile, Consul Vlaco asks Johan which family he belongs to, testing his identity. Johan replies with a forced smile, claiming to be Johan Yates of the Yates family to maintain his disguise. However, a close-up on his sweating face reveals the immense tension and nervousness he feels inside.
Vlaco recognizes Johan with enthusiasm, asking if he's from the Yates family, to the complete astonishment of the young man who didn't expect this.
As Vlaco praises the Yates family's famous drink, Johan panics, realizing the name he invented actually exists. Vlaco prepares 2 ornate glasses on the table, demonstrating his intent to share the special drink with his guest from the supposed noble family. With a smile, Vlaco offers a glass to Johan, saying he must miss home and to please accept a drink.
Vlaco pours a drink for Johan, who receives it with an animated smile, appearing surprised and grateful for the consul's hospitality. Johan holds the glass with both hands and thanks timidly, accepting the drink offered by his mysterious host. With a satisfied smile, Consul Vlaco observes his guest's reaction as he serves the drink with an enigmatic air. Johan laughs casually, and Vlaco replies he's glad the drink pleased him, keeping the conversation friendly. With a subtle smile, Consul Vlaco asks Johan about the whereabouts and well-being of the Yates family.
He continues, mentioning he heard the Emperor's devastating cold wind completely swept through the northern lands.
Johan reacts in silence, recalling the image of his hometown consumed by relentless flames.
Vlaco reveals the grim fate of the survivors, now scattered across the land, living as bandits.
With a tense smile, Johan denies knowledge of the matter, telling Vlaco it's the first he's heard of it.
Laughing, Consul Vlaco apologizes for talking too much and offers Johan a drink, ending his monologue. Johan reacts with an awkward laugh to Vlaco's attitude, holding his glass somewhat nervously. Interrupting the moment, Vlaco turns to Johan, stating he has one more thing to discuss.
Vlaco approaches Johan, asking if he's noticed anything, implying a problem he hasn't yet seen.
He reveals the drink Johann just consumed wasn't the Yates family's date palm spirit, confirming the betrayal. Eyes wide, Johann finally understands he's been tricked, feeling the cold sweat of imminent danger. Villico stares at Johann with a smug look, relishing the moment his plan against the youth materializes.
With a wicked smile, Consul Villico turns, considering intervention, saying, "Or perhaps I'll intervene." Villico states his decision will be solely based on what's best for Marcel, pondering if the city truly needs a pro-imperial leader.
An intense, menacing red eye watches as a plan to leverage the balance of power is mentioned. Consul Villico smiles amiably, offering Johann a chance to earn some merit for himself. With a malicious grin, Villico reveals his true intent, promising to send Johann directly to the Emperor. Struck by the revelation's pressure, Johann collapses to his knees against a wall, feeling the situation's crushing weight. Fallen, Johann realizes Villico knows his true identity, feeling cornered as if a new collar is around his neck. Enraged, Johann rises, deciding that since nothing is free, he'll solve the problem to earn Villico's blessing.
A child excitedly points to the arrival of the subjugation force, making Johann turn to observe the new development in the village.
With a surprised expression, Johann looks at the approaching group, wondering if that subjugation force is, in fact, the army.
Johann and Dell observe the imposing bandit subjugation force approaching, an army marching in battle formation. Dell identifies the Red Iron Mercenaries, a group of dwarves led by Kumal, as one of the factions in the army.
Impressed, Dell comments on the warriors' high caliber, but Johann, indifferent, questions their fame, showing his confidence. She also points out the monks of St. Aina Monastery, a mysterious group renowned for their alchemy skills.
Captain Kumal leads the Red Iron Mercenaries, a group of dwarves known for their siege specialization. Besides the dwarves, Count Bartok's knights also arrive, elves from Erangs famous for their bravery in combat.
Johann observes the reinforcements' arrival but expresses his distrust, commenting that elves are often quite rude.
Eon introduces Johann to Captain Kumal as the knight who will fight with them, expressing a desire for good cooperation.
Kumal asks Johann to relax, but he maintains formality, stating he cannot speak casually with the force's captain.
With a subtle smile, Johann thanks Kumal, accepting the agreement and the formality established between them for the mission.
With the agreement sealed, Kumal immediately begins planning, inquiring about the Holy Knight's movements. A Holy Knight informs with a smile that her troops will move alongside Captain Kumal's, sealing the alliance. Kumal places his hand on his chest, expressing sincere gratitude for the Holy Knight's consideration and help. Surprised, Ion questions Johann why he gathered so many troops, not understanding the operation's scale. Knight Gustav observes with concern, expressing his belief that their own forces would have been more than sufficient.
Knights Laurent and Leon arrive, confident that Count Bartok sent them to that location for a good reason. One of the knights directly addresses Johann, asking if he is the warrior fighting under the merchant group's banner.
Johann stares at him seriously and confirms his identity, introducing himself as a member of the Yates family. With disdain, the knight scoffs at the name, stating he'd never heard of Johann's family and showing his contempt.
A knight points with scorn, warning they won't listen to a low-ranking family and to expect no help on the battlefield. With a dark gaze, Johann stares at the knight and coldly promises he will remember that threat, etching the insult into his memory.
Mounted on his horse, the elven knight Gustav announces himself arrogantly, while his subordinates hastily prepare their departure. With a shout of enthusiasm, Gustav and his knights depart on horseback, leaving Johann and his allies behind to observe the scene. Johann shows a tense face, the pressure of the imminent war weighing on his shoulders despite his apparent confidence. On, the Beast Woman answers a call, initiating a conversation that will lead to an unexpected order for Johann. Approaching Johann, Jan reveals that someone wishes to meet him that night, introducing a new mystery into his plans. Caught by surprise, Johann turns to question Yun, demanding to know who the mysterious person is that scheduled the meeting. Jan is visibly shaken and speechless, clutching her neck in a gesture of anguish and concern over the unfolding events.
On the night before departure, the subjugation force gathers in a camp, with orders to feast and not worry about the battle.
The elven knight Gustav drinks enthusiastically, proclaiming that refusing life's pleasures, like alcohol and women, is a disgrace for an elf. Lord Svettelgur observes the scene with disapproval, believing this noisy celebration demonstrates a dangerous lack of trust in their own allies.
Johann stares at another bottle, questioning how the nobles of this world manage to drink every day and survive it. Despite the situation, Johann displays a cunning smile, revealing he already has a plan in mind for what's to come.
The governor twirls his mustache with a presumptuous air, asking if Johann finally understands the reason for their meeting.
Raising his goblet, he toasts Johann, stating that a man who knows how to fight is the true power he needs. With a serious gaze, the governor reveals he investigated Johann's identity but couldn't find his family.
The governor reminds Johann of traitors' fates, recounting how entire families were destroyed for opposing his majesty. Impatient with veiled threats, Johann interrupts, demanding to know directly what he truly wants from him. Faced with Johann's silence, the governor grows visibly nervous, awaiting a response to his proposal to serve the king. The proposal is clear: Johann must use his power to serve the king, a choice symbolized by a knight kneeling in loyalty. Johann surveys his future territory, declaring his ambition to obtain a knight's title and govern a vast, fertile land. Over a defeated body, Johann reveals his philosophy: the weak fight and perish, while the strong reap the rewards of their power.
The governor laughs maniacally, praising Johann's intelligence and agreeing that those who die do so solely by their own fault.
The governor reacts in shock to the revelation, stammering, "Well, what?" completely caught off guard by Johann's story.
Johann narrates his past, explaining how a man at the emperor's command invaded his territory and massacred his family and people. His blue eyes gleam with cold intensity, a silent, intimidating warning to the man before him of what he is capable. The governor reacts with disbelief and terror to the news, his eye wide as he tries to process what he heard. Johann coldly recalls crushing the head of Imperial Knight Karamov, declaring he did so without any hesitation.
As the governor trembles in fear, Johann approaches and confirms with a simple, "It was me," that he is the knight's killer. Johann calmly takes a drink, ignoring the governor's panic, who questions why he would commit such madness. With a violent grip, Johann crushes the metal goblet in his hand, a silent, brutal display of his strength to intimidate the governor. The governor is terrified seeing the destroyed table and goblet, wondering in thought how Johann possesses such superhuman strength. Johann turns and declares he will exterminate the bandits for his own reasons, not in the emperor's name or anyone else's.
With a menacing glare, Johann warns the governor to keep everything he witnessed that night a secret to avoid consequences.
Johann rages at his enemy's words, questioning the audacity of the man who thinks he can get away with anything.
Suddenly, a vision strikes him, and he can barely process what's happening as his eye widens in shock. The vision shows a drink being poisoned and a mask breaking, revealing a betrayal or a hidden attack.
The governor's image appears with a smug look, revealing himself as the target of Johann's fury. At the camp, a young mercenary is surrounded by women who find him too thin and question him about his profession.
They invite him to have fun, leaving the young man completely flustered and embarrassed by their bold and unexpected approach.
A young woman desperately runs through the night, her face flushed with shame, trying to escape an embarrassing situation. Suddenly, her expression shifts to pure terror as she realizes she is no longer alone in the darkness. Panicked, she screams for help, asking if anyone is nearby to aid her in her desperation.
An agonizing memory reveals the young woman, in tears, forcing Johann to drink a red liquid to keep him alive. Johann explains he survived because of her, and the young woman, embarrassed, downplays her heroic act, saying it's fine. Seated and tense, Johann admits he would be dead without the blessing water, receiving thanks for his efforts.
Lord Sudelger glares at Johann sternly, reprimanding him for his recent reckless actions.
Johann admits with a frustrated expression that the Baron had already escaped by the time he finally arrived to capture him.
With a cry of pure fury and pain, Johann seems to relive a moment of overwhelming despair.
Johann examines the wax seal on a mysterious letter, pondering its contents and unknown sender. Questioned by Lord Sudelger, Johann speculates the letter might be proof of the rumors about the Emperor. Johann appears shocked and apprehensive, breaking into a cold sweat upon encountering an unexpected and clearly dangerous situation.
A sinister man smiles maliciously, believing his plan was a success and that Johann Eitz is already dead. Upon arriving at his destination, the knight is greeted by a noble who formally salutes him. "Welcome, Sir Einbeck."
With a presumptuous air, the governor prepares to address the troops, confident in his power to manipulate the gathered forces.
He surveys his vast mercenary army, observing the rows of soldiers awaiting his orders as night falls. The governor begins his speech with a powerful roar, shouting, "We," to ignite the multitude of soldiers before him.
He declares them the strongest mercenaries in the Empire, an army united and motivated by the Holy Empire's gold.
The governor furiously shouts, declaring to his army that their enemies' plans and strategies are all in his hands.
His war cry echoes over the troops, who react with awe and fervor to their commander's speech before battle. Observing his army, the governor takes a dramatic pause, preparing to reveal the next step of his imminent attack plan.
A sinister woman appears and introduces herself as Janina, an imperial mage. She claims to have been sent by the emperor himself for the mission. Holding a shimmering object, Janina declares she is not a mage who deals with trivial elements, hinting at her formidable and dangerous power.
A hooded figure holds a glowing vial, confirming with a wicked smile, "That's right," as sinister smoke is released.
A mysterious pink-haired woman emerges with a sinister smile, revealing sharp teeth as she observes the unfolding scene. With a confident voice, she offers to intervene, making a direct promise, "I will help you." Completely shocked by her appearance and proposal, the governor reacts with a scream of pure terror, overwhelmed by panic.
With eyes wide in fury and fear, the governor prepares to use his last resort against the imminent threat.
Desperate, the governor tries to protect himself by invoking the highest authority, shouting the emperor's name for all to hear.
Upon hearing the sovereign's name, the soldiers respond with a roar, raising their weapons in a clamor of loyalty.
A young subordinate appears, shocked and nervous, receiving an unexpected task directly from Johann, not fully understanding what's happening.
Johann hands her a letter, giving the direct and firm order for it to be sent immediately to Consul Villaco Tranieni.
As she takes the envelope, Johann explains that the content is something Villaco needs to confirm personally, heightening the mystery. She holds the letter, now sealed with a crest, understanding the seriousness and danger of the mission entrusted to her. Mercenary Captain Kumal faces the challenge ahead, his expression determined as he prepares for the imminent battle. Before him, two massive armies are arrayed, poised for combat, setting the stage for an epic conflict.
Amidst the tension, Johann calmly arrives on horseback, his presence indicating he is about to intervene in the war.
With a focused gaze, Johann turns as he is called, ready to lead his men into the impending battle. Johann bids farewell, assuring he will take care of everything and asking them to protect Süßburg in his absence. Waving a final goodbye, Johann departs on horseback, announcing that he and his troops are finally on their way. Leading the march, Johann rides with his army, the sound of hooves marking the beginning of their journey.
Mercenary Captain Kumal greets Johann, who mounted on his horse confirms he is ready for battle.
With a determined hand gesture, Captain Kumal prepares to give the attack signal to his troops. Kumal lets out a fierce war cry, ordering his mercenaries to advance against the enemy. From an aerial view, the mercenary army advances in formation, rushing into confrontation against the enemy troops. Mercenary Captain Kumal signals they need more time, while one of his soldiers sounds the war horn.
From the doorway, Ion silently watches Consul Villaco standing on the balcony, holding a mysterious letter in his hands.
A guard observes the scene from below, expressing his distrust of the letter due to the rivalry between the involved families.
Villaco analyzes the seal and content of the letter, concluding that the sender appears to be the mastermind behind the entire conspiracy.
Villaco admits to Yaon his continued distrust of the young knight, questioning his intentions in the city. Ion nervously defends the guild, stating they don't support just anyone, implying strict criteria. With a confident expression, Ion reveals his true plan: to use the knight to disrupt the city's balance of power. Elsewhere, a man with a sinister smile announces a messenger's arrival, signaling events are in motion. The governor smiles, confidently declaring Marcel practically in his majesty's grasp.
The Mayhem Unit commander plans to patrol the brothels after Marcel's capture, much to the governor's clear annoyance. Gathered, the mage Janina notices the governor's strange appearance, directly asking why he's so pale.
Sweating and visibly shaken, the governor tries to dismiss the concern, insisting there's no cause for alarm.
The governor looks away, sweating coldly, unable to conceal his nervousness amidst the unfolding situation. A hooded woman, Lady Janina, calmly inquires about Imperial Knight Karamov. With a forced smile, the governor suggests Karamov may have suffered a severe accident during his expedition.
Two men laugh at the news, finding the story of Knight Karamov a completely senseless joke.
The mustached man smiles, confident nothing could befall the powerful knight, deeming the possibility impossible. He recalls the lie and rages, thinking an insignificant wretch dared deceive him, and he was right to kill him. From afar, Johann observes the scene with a serious expression, seemingly surprised by the conversation and understanding the situation.
On a desolate battlefield, a knight in purple armor watches his enemies' bodies disintegrate into black smoke. Kumal, with a smile, reminds the others that Johann is a noble and thus deserves more respect.
Johann, mounted, intervenes to calm Captain Kumal, who reluctantly apologizes for his outburst. Approaching the knight, Johann asks about the recent combat and where everyone went afterward.
An elven knight boasts, claiming Sir Gustav and his men fought valiantly and deserved the spoils of victory.
He then points angrily, declaring all prisoners and spoils exclusively belong to the elven knights. Irritated, the dwarf Kumal confronts the elf, telling the pointy ears to keep the loot for themselves.
Observing the argument, Johann senses something is amiss, his serious expression revealing growing distrust.
Knight Gustav asks mercenary Kumal if he explored the forest, but the dwarf dismisses it with disdain for hunting animals.
Sensing imminent danger, Johann shouts orders for all archers to concentrate fire on the forest, ignoring appearances.
Confused by the command, Kumal and Gustav question the order, finding that attacking an empty forest is a complete overreaction. Johann analyzes the tactical map, concluding that the terrain is a disadvantage and they need to conduct reconnaissance before crossing the forest. He urgently shouts, stating that the main force must not advance deeper into enemy territory without intelligence.
Meanwhile, mercenary Captain Kumal breaks into a cold sweat as Knight Gustav approaches him with a smug smile on his face.
Nervous, Kumal discreetly points behind him, attempting to communicate his discomfort with the elven knight's presence.
Mercenary Captain Kumal bows before Johann, declaring that he will finally accept the young man's suggestion for the upcoming battle.
Satisfied, Johann reflects that his suggestions, once ignored due to his class, are now heard, challenging prejudiced society.
Commands are shouted for the archers to prepare an attack, receiving orders to aim at the forests flanking the enemy.
Despite the ambush, the elven guards are completely shocked and terrified by the figure emerging from the darkness.
A terrifying mercenary with a bull helmet and glowing red eyes emerges, snarling with a savage fury. Far away, Johann receives a letter and irritably questions if the news is about the infamous bull-headed mercenary. Laurent nervously admits to having encountered the threat, while the one-eyed veteran observes seriously. The veteran describes the hordes of red-eyed monsters they will have to face in the imminent battle. He details the creatures' behavior, explaining that their movements resemble a stampede of enraged bulls. Shocked, Laurent asks Johann if the battle will be tomorrow, and Johann coldly confirms the dangerous mission.
Johann's gaze fixes on a letter with a red wax seal, his serious expression anticipating important news. Visibly disturbed, a one-eyed man delivers an alarming report, the sweat on his face betraying the gravity of the situation. Shaken by the revelation, Johann leans forward and demands to know the reason, directly asking why it happened. Johann reflects, remembering that he also heard the monster's legend when he was just a child. The legend describes a terrifying beast, whose eyes glow with a red and murderous fury in the darkness.
With overwhelming strength and near-human intellect, the monster massacred all knights who dared to challenge it. Despite the danger, a young knight declares that he will risk his life to ensure Johann's retreat the following day. A one-eyed mercenary warns his lively companion that payment will only be collected if they survive the dangerous mission. Johann smiles, amused by the mercenaries' conversation and the survival condition they themselves imposed for payment. The young mercenary continues, admitting with a smile that they might have to desperately flee for their lives without even looking back. Johann's expression turns serious as he prepares to give instructions, calling one of the mercenaries by name, Goran. Two guards stare at Johann in shock, utterly surprised by the orders he just gave in the office. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the cavalry charges fiercely, their mounts hit amidst the chaos.
A commander shouts for his armored troops to advance, and soldiers march in unison into combat, swords drawn.
Suddenly, an explosion strikes the lines of the dwarf mercenaries, who desperately duck for cover from the devastating impact. An army of bull-headed mercenaries prepares for battle, wielding gigantic hammers beneath a burning sky, ready for combat. From above, the two armies face each other on a desolate battlefield, a mass of warriors on each side, about to violently collide. Kumal observes the enemy, recognizing the legendary bull-headed mercenaries, a force he thought existed only in stories and legends. Kumal shouts for Johann to brace for impact as the mercenaries charge directly at them, launching their full-force assault. Johann leads the charge with a war cry, determined to break through enemy lines with his allies. Soldiers see Johann approaching and scoff, deeming it madness for him to think he can face them alone.
Facing the shield formation, Johann orders his men to prepare to breach the enemy's defense. The battle begins immediately, and Kumal's mercenaries charge, delivering powerful blows against the soldiers. With the formation broken, a warrior shouts for his comrades to die with honor, as the enemy relentlessly advances upon them. An imposing warrior with a bull helmet crushes his opponents with brute force, carving a path through the bloody battle.
Amidst the chaos, warriors clash in brutal combat, blades crossing in a fierce duel for survival.
The battle's violence is captured in a devastating blow, shattering the enemy's defense with an overwhelming, decisive impact. Mercenary Captain Kumal fells an enemy and shouts, "Soldiers!" leading his men in the charge with fervor.
He wields his axe and hammer, which gleam with overwhelming energy, ready to crush more foes. With a roar of fury, Kumal charges, his expression revealing the relentless determination of a seasoned warrior.
Observing Kumal's prowess, Johan smiles and remarks that they don't need to worry about that side of the battle. Johan faces the enemy army with a confident smile, ready for the approaching battle.
A Minotaur warrior, the Decanus, volunteers to face what he calls the worm for his lord Numeros.
In a flash, Johan moves past the Decanus, who is instantly defeated to everyone's shock.
Johan confirms to himself that the rumors were true, recalling the warning he received about the Minotaurs.
Johan stands before the group and loudly questions who the leader is, making his confrontational intentions clear.
Advancing with a smile, Johan warns that the horse better not get hurt, hinting at the knight's fate. With a confident smile, Johan prepares for the combat he himself provoked against the mercenary.
The fight begins with a brutal mercenary attack, but Johan dodges the crushing blow with impressive agility. Johan narrowly dodges a powerful blow that shatters the ground, feeling his opponent's immense strength.
He realizes the insane range of Gessen's attacks and thinks he can't even be grazed.
Johan prepares for the next move, aware that a direct axe blow would split his body in half. Gessen charges Johan, yelling that he'll grant him a knight's death as he attacks mercilessly.
With a furious cry, Johan charges, preparing to deliver a powerful and decisive blow against his opponent. He finds an opening and forcefully plunges his dagger into Gessen's back, a swift and lethal attack.
As a result of the attack, Gessen's enormous axe slips from his hands and falls heavily to the ground, leaving him disarmed.
Gessen stumbles back, gasping in pain and surprise, feeling the impact of the unexpected blow he just received.
Panting, Johan advances with his mace in hand, rushing to deliver a powerful blow against the heavily armored warrior. Suddenly, the Holy Knights of Galanto Monastery appear, and a soldier screams in panic, recognizing the fearsome warriors.
The battle intensifies as the knights clash, and a warning is shouted amidst the chaos. "Don't let your guard down."
With a swift and precise movement, one of the hooded knights cuts down their opponent, demonstrating combat superiority.
The horned warrior leaps to attack, furiously yelling that he'll crush his drug-addicted opponent. After the victory, she turns to Brother Agante, reminding him that many still need his strength. The horned warrior finally falls, defeated by the knightess's final mace blow.
Johan stares, shocked, as a colossal weapon falls from the sky, an unexpected attack catching him by surprise in the midst of battle.
After the impact, Johan approaches the now defeated monster, completely incapacitated by the crushing blow from above. The monster begs for its life, but a knight threatens it, saying he still plans to use its tail for soup.
Confused by the bizarre threat, Johan questions the knight, asking what he means by that.
Johan gives a firm order, and a frightened man immediately responds, calling him Sir Knight in submission.
The blood-covered Minotaur leader realizes the gravity of the situation and begins to sweat in fear before Johan. Johan grabs one of the monsters and declares it his emergency stake, leaving the creature in a panic over the threat. With a furious glare, Johan warns the creature that it will be a witness, promising a terrible fate for his enemies. The Minotaur commander, once confident, now appears utterly stunned and confused by the unexpected events on the battlefield, uttering a simple moo.
The dwarven mercenary captain, Kumal, emerges with his men, taunting enemy soldiers by declaring their commander was defeated by his knight.
Viliko smiles with satisfaction, commenting that he heard about the exceptional performance of Bartuk's elven knights. Concerned, Ion informs the knights that, unfortunately, they've lost contact with the elf group.
Ion continues her explanation, revealing that, as Johan had said, they were a disguised mercenary company. Johan is met with a surprising shout of his name, Johan, making him look intently at who calls him.
Lord Sudelger greets him, thanking him for his work, while a small companion enthusiastically shouts his name. The mage, Lord Sudelger, acknowledges Johan's effort, saying he traveled a great distance to reach the outpost.
A girl euphorically narrates one of Johan's feats, but he interrupts her, asking her not to exaggerate the story.
Kumal fervently declares that the Red Iron mercenaries disagree with criticism, as Sir Johan deserves all praise. Recalling Johan's bravery in combat, Kumal becomes visibly emotional and moved by the courage he witnessed.
He approaches Johan, stating that the courage he displayed serves as a magnificent example even for dwarves.
Kumal concludes the praise, saying that beyond strength, Johann's strategic mind truly leaves them in awe. The knights offer their blessings to Johann, wishing him the grace of Saint Ina and Saint Galanto. The knightess smiles at Johann, praising his strategic decision to spare the enemy commander during the confrontation.
She understands the scope of Johann's power, envisioning him as a demonic force capable of obliterating an army alone.
A mercenary describes the brutality others would show, dismembering an enemy with sadistic pleasure, to contrast with Johann's attitude. Praised for his rare virtue in sparing the enemy, Johann thinks to himself, admitting that so much praise is making him uncomfortable.
With feigned modesty, Johann accepts Lord Sudelger's praise, and his companions are impressed by how humble he seems.
Lord Sudelger praises Johann, questioning if he realizes how many men he has already massacred on the battlefield, leaving him surprised. Facing the group's insistence, Johann finally bows and decides to accept their recognition with gratitude.
Excited, Captain Kumal shouts that, after reorganizing their strategy, they will crush Einbeck and his band. Suddenly, the entire group looks up in shock, realizing the enemy is already there, wondering how they were found.
A wounded elf stumbles into the camp, gasping and swaying, barely able to stand before Johann and his group. Battle-stained, the messenger desperately asks if he is the contact Sir Gustav sent for the meeting. Looking at Johann, the elf uses his last strength to plead, "Send reinforcements, right now."
In a dark forest, the sound of footsteps in water heralds a hostile and imminent approach.
The first invader steps heavily into the water, beginning their group's relentless advance. Multiple figures march in unison through the water, moving swiftly towards their target. Imperial knights relentlessly advance through the night, one drawing his sword to cut down a fugitive with a precise, deadly blow.
The blade pierces its target in a swift, brutal motion, showcasing the knights' lethal efficiency in their extermination mission.
Leaving a body behind in the river, the knight squad continues its pursuit, ignoring the carnage to focus on their main objective. Leading the group, Laurent curses in frustration. Despite the violence, it seems the true target escaped the initial assault. Surprised, Laurent questions Count Bartok's words, realizing the gravity of their situation. Laurent orders his men to continue the pursuit, declaring they must collect the spoils of war. With a battle cry, Laurent rallies his troops, his face determined to fulfill their mission.
One of the elf knights warns his troops, declaring that anyone caught stealing for themselves will be severely punished. Led by their commander, the troops advance in formation through the water, following orders for the mission. The army continues its tireless march, traversing the flooded terrain while their leader watches them intently.
Knight Laurent orders a short pause, instructing his soldiers to stop and check their equipment before proceeding. Laurent analyzes the environment, deeming it sinister and a perfect hideout for bandits, sensing an attack could come at any moment. Suddenly, Leon startles at an approaching figure, and Laurent turns to identify who is coming their way.
Gravely wounded, the elf knight Gustav desperately shouts for his superior, but his body begins to disintegrate before he can finish the sentence.
His plea for help is brutally cut short as he is instantly vaporized by an overwhelming power, leaving only a trail of destruction. Witnessing his comrade's death, Knight Laurent overcomes fear and draws his sword, determined to face the imminent threat.
Wounded, Knight Gustav realizes they fell into a trap, as the bandits vanished and trolls attacked them instead.
Battle-stained, Gustav's expression fills with fury and determination to face the imminent threat.
A knight attacks the creature, yelling, "Monster!" but his sword bounces off harmlessly, leaving the beast confused by the assault. In shock, the knight trembles, realizing the futility of his blow. Thinking the situation is impossible, overwhelmed by fear, he desperately screams at his companions, ordering, "Don't just stand there." Hand on his chest, Commander Kumal expresses concern, stating he doubts a rescue squad can be sent.
Gesturing to the soldier, Kumal reinforces his decision, reminding everyone their main mission isn't over yet.
Kumal glares at the elven soldier with irritation as the subordinate tries to argue, formally addressing him as Commander Kumal. Suddenly, Johann reacts with surprise when someone incredulously asks, "Excuse me, Sir Johann?"
Kumal, annoyed by the hesitation, volunteers, stating, "If a rescue squad must go, then I will." Urgently, he gesticulates while arguing for the mission's necessity, emphasizing the situation's gravity and his qualification for the task. His determined gaze leaves no doubt, showing his decision to lead the rescue is final and unwavering before others.
With a determined look, Johann questions if the reason he presented isn't enough for them to at least attempt the rescue. Johann kneels to speak with mercenary Captain Kumal, making a direct and heartfelt plea to gain his trust and help.
Visibly moved, Kumal declares Johann has surprised him again and agrees to immediately form a rescue squad. Del is moved by the help received, covering his mouth in gratitude, while Lord Sudelger observes the scene in silence. Johann thinks of the reward, determined to extract every coin from the elves of Kangis, whom he knows are extremely rich.
In a secret meeting, a mysterious hooded figure smiles maliciously, revealing sinister intentions to accomplices.
A hooded man crosses his arms and warns his accomplices, saying it's still too early for any celebration. A pink-haired woman ignites a flame and questions the outcome, recalling a fortune of the emperor was spent on mercenaries. The governor twirls his mustache in disdain, stating the bullhead mercenaries were merely disposable pawns in his plan. He displays a letter with a mysterious crest, revealing his true plan lies elsewhere and remains unaffected. The governor, confident, twirls his mustache and tells his accomplice she worries too much about the ambush's success. The woman reveals her strategy, explaining the swamp's high humidity will prevent enemies' torches from lighting. With a sinister smile, she predicts they will meet their end in the dark abyss, extinguishing a small flame.
Suddenly, defying the plan, a lantern explodes in a bright green flame, illuminating the darkness with mysterious power.
With a serious expression, Johann questions the woman about the green flame, asking what she calls it.
The woman steps forward with a smile, explaining the divine magic she carries is called Aina's flame. She smiles proudly, explaining it was thanks to this sacred fire that they managed to defeat the troll. Johann is horrified to see the explosion and realize that the sacred magic is actually white phosphorus. Riding through the forest, Johann praises his companion, impressed by her divine magic and swordsmanship.
The priestess smiles confidently, stating her skills are the fruit of daily training and God's grace. Johann points to his own head with a smile, warning that their enemies aren't stupid and must be taken seriously. Elsewhere, Sir Laurent shouts panicked orders to his troops, telling them to hide and maintain formation at all costs. The small blue dog suddenly begins barking furiously, sensing a menacing presence approaching in the forest's darkness. Johann comments that his new animal, Karamov, found something, much to his companion's disbelief at the chosen name. The group stumbles upon the elf knight's horses loose on the trail, questioning what could have happened to their riders. A sudden, monstrous roar echoes through the woods, forcing Johann and his companion to turn alarmed towards the unknown threat. As his ally prepares a spell, Johann says he'll go ahead to buy time, advancing recklessly and leaving her panicked. Johann rides swiftly into danger, shouting orders for Karamov to gather the horses that bolted and fled the scene.
Desperate, the knightess watches Johann speed away, shouting his name in vain as he rides off to battle alone. The holy hyena kneels with her sword in hand, beginning a humble prayer to God before the imminent battle. She prays for souls yearning for salvation as a sacred green energy envelops her and her knights.
In a circle of power, the knights plead in unison for the sacred flame to be granted to them. Suddenly, a knight charges ferociously, attacking the threat that emerged to interrupt the sacred ritual. Sir Laurent attacks a monster with his sword, slicing it in a violent blow as blood gushes everywhere. He advances with agility amidst the battle's chaos, preparing his next move with an expression of fierce determination. Despair overcomes Laurent, who weeps from exhaustion and fear upon realizing the gravity of his situation. Struggling to breathe, Laurent realizes the situation is grim, thinking he and his comrades are utterly exhausted.
A comrade shouts Laurent's name in panic. The knight looks back, face sweaty and an expression of pure shock.
Exhausted, Laurent says he can't take it anymore and orders them to abandon him, planning to sacrifice himself so others can escape the troll. A gigantic troll emerges, snarling menacingly. A knight points in panic, revealing the monster that cornered the group in the lair.
Amidst the chaos, a knight observes the confrontation with a determined gaze, standing on mana-soaked ground, ready to act.
The monstrous creature roars as a blade pierces its jaw, gushing blood in a brutal, desperate strike.
Consul Villico stares at an envelope on his desk, wondering if a mysterious ghost letter has finally arrived.
With hands clasped, Villico intently observes the sealed letter, pondering its contents and the implications it may bring.
The seal reveals the sender. The Oak mercenary group is requesting Marcel's Gate with a force of 100 men.
Jan, the feline manager, remarks with a smile that the situation bears Einbeck's signature all over it.
Jan reacts with surprise to Villaco's audacious plan, her eyes widening at the possibilities of the conspiracy.
Baring her fangs in a smile, Jan decrees that the attack will not be tonight, controlling the pace of the operation.
Villaco displays a confident smile, satisfied that his conspiracy is advancing with the help of his ally. Under the night sky, a voice declares that no threat shall pass through Marcel's city gates tonight, ensuring the location's safety.
By candlelight, a young woman prays fervently, asking that the claws and fangs of the unholy not harm the person she wishes to protect. Lord Settlger notices the young woman's apprehension and asks if she is worried about what might happen to Johann.
She admits her fear, saying that while Johann is brave, trolls are not enemies humans can easily defeat. Swedelger confirms the gravity of the situation, explaining that an entire legion would normally be needed to fell a single troll. However, he suddenly reassures her, saying with conviction that there is no cause for concern, leaving her confused. Lord Swedelger is confronted with a question about the two secret waters of the Ifeal River his master holds. Before fallen enemies, he explains that if the Water of Wrath is applied to a weapon, its power becomes lethal. As a spear is imbued, he concludes that the potion is capable of delivering an absolutely fatal blow.
With a cry of effort, Johann delivers a powerful blow, focusing all his strength on the attack against the enemy confronting him.
Johann flees on horseback through the dark forest, desperately trying to escape the Imperial Knights relentlessly pursuing him.
Laurent sees Gustav vulnerable and shouts that this is his only chance to finally finish him off once and for all.
Knight Leon charges forward, shouting that if one human knight could fight, so can they, and attacks the shadowy creature.
His attack is futile, and he is violently repelled by the creature, causing his companion to scream his name in despair. The impact of the monster's blow is so powerful that it effortlessly hurls Leon and the other knights away. A knight is struck with brutal force, spitting blood, and feeling the overwhelming power of the monster they face. The monstrous creature roars as a blade of white energy descends from the heavens, aiming directly at its head. Mounted on his horse, Johann leads the charge across the water, advancing without hesitation to face the colossal beast. Johann attacks the creature's legs, thinking he'd immobilized it for a moment to create an opening. Watching the battle from afar, the knight screams Sir Johann's name in utter despair and panic. The creature lunges suddenly, and Johann realizes, shocked, that it's gotten too close and reached him. Brutally thrown high, Johann realizes, powerless, that he's been hit full force by the monster. A watchman spots distant lights, wondering, intrigued, what they could be amidst the night's darkness.
He quickly grabs a spyglass to investigate, questioning aloud what exactly is approaching. He sights an army marching in formation under a banner, lit only by torches in the night's darkness. A guard panics, breaking into a cold sweat as he realizes the situation is unfolding exactly as the governor had predicted. As Velako startles at the sound of the commotion, Ion, the manager, calmly announces they've finally arrived. Ion suggests sending a letter to verify the commander's identity, certain that true survivors will respond. A man accompanied by guards enters the room, directly confronting a surprised Magistrate Velako with his arrival.
Utterly shocked, Ion questions how the man can be there, as he should be dead. With a grave expression, Father Valberga apologizes before stating he must reveal the truth about what happened.
Velako is shocked and breaks into a sweat upon hearing that a mercenary group is involved in the massacre. Ion bares her teeth in disbelief, questioning how such a group could possibly be behind the attack.
Valberga confirms the suspicions, stating the atrocity was the work of the Oak mercenary group, under orders from the Sacred Empire.
His face drenched in sweat and tears, the knight Laurent gulps, paralyzed by sheer terror at what he's witnessing. Johann displays a dark smile, savoring the anticipation of the imminent clash, utterly confident in his overwhelming power.
Beneath a tree banner, soldiers prepare for battle. The question, "Ready?" echoes through the camp, escalating the tension. A macabre procession advances. People tied to stakes are forced to carry torches toward a terrible, uncertain fate. An enemy commander watches the explosions, confidently declaring that no matter what others do, his plan is infallible. Soldiers rush toward the wall, aware they need to find an alternate entrance, as the main gate might be blocked.
Upon entering, one of the guards is paralyzed with horror to find an unexpected and menacing presence in the darkness. Before he can react, the guard is violently knocked out by a surprise attack, paving the way for the invaders. A soldier dies on the ground, his last words a loyal oath. Glory to the Emperor.
A commander praises the good work, stating the Empire has no use for those who betray their own for coins. The leader addresses his troops, declaring that from this moment, the city of Marseille is theirs. He turns to a soldier and gives a direct order for his men to capture the enemy captain.
Consul Villako is confronted by a voice warning him. Don't look at me like that, Consul, as he maintains his serious, impassive gaze. Shocked by what she hears, Manager Ion reacts with a scream, her eyes wide with complete surprise and alarm.
Elsewhere, a man watches an amulet in his hand crack and emit an intense light, indicating a seal has been broken. After the amulet breaks, the man raises his face with a grave expression, understanding the imminent consequences of what just transpired. A stern-looking noble arrives at Villaco's office, carrying an official scroll with a clear purpose in mind. He throws the document onto the table, directly confronting the consul, who watches him with cold indifference. The noble demands, leaning over the table, just write a single order for the subjugation force.
Staring intensely, his furious expression makes it clear his patience is at an end, and he will not accept refusal.
With gleaming eyes, Vilaco ponders his next move, determined to proceed with his plan and bear the consequences.
From the dark depths of the water, a monstrous creature begins to emerge, its sinister form slowly revealing itself.
Amidst the swamp, the knight Laurent confronts the enormous reptilian beast, engaging it in deadly combat.
The creature lets out a guttural roar of fury, its yellow eyes glowing intensely as the battle unfolds.
Floating over the dark water, the knight Gustave calls for Laurent, initiating the plan to face the imminent enemy. Laurent orders his companions to take the wounded Léon and flee, declaring he will stay behind to buy time. Desperate, one of the knights refuses to abandon his leader, shouting that he too will stay to fight by his side.
Panicked, the knight tries to organize the retreat, calling for help for the wounded Leon, but his order is cut short. Laurent, desperate, shouts at his companion, reinforcing that this is not a request, but an order from his superior to act.
Upon seeing the monster, one of the knights despairs, shouting Gustave's name as he charges into the attack.
With a furious cry, Laurent charges with his sword drawn, determined to cut down the enemy before him. Johann floats unconscious in the water, slowly sinking after the explosion, his fate now uncertain and at the mercy of the current.
Far away, the governor smiles maliciously, satisfied with the outcome and certain his enemies have been eliminated.
Immersed among enemies, Johann feels his body paralyzed by exhaustion, thinking he's too tired to continue.
His heart pounds as he begins to recall, reliving the defining moments of struggle that shaped him until now. An ethereal, bluish figure approaches Johann, enveloping him in a comforting light as he teeters on the brink of collapse. A brutal punch strikes Johann squarely, blood splattering from the overwhelming force of the impact that stuns him. The world distorts around Johann. The blow's impact completely disorients him as his head is thrown back. Johann's heart pulses violently, unleashing an overwhelming energy as his body reaches its absolute limit.
Enveloped by intense power, Johann screams that if he cannot escape death, he will face it head-on. With a look of pure fury and determination, Johann stares down his fate, ready for whatever comes next.
Laurent advances fearlessly, shouting that he fights for his honor and for Aaron's, ready to confront the giant beast attacking him. As the monster's fist descends to crush him, Laurent's sword is launched with incredible speed to intercept the devastating blow.
The sword hits its mark, piercing the creature's chest, which roars in pain and surprise at the precise and unexpected attack.
Knight Laurent is completely stunned and in shock, unable to believe the strength he just witnessed. Johann emerges with a dark aura, and the knight, astonished, cries out in disbelief, "You're still alive?"
A hooded woman smiles sinisterly, stating that the situation is far from over and there's more to come.
The governor and his shadowy allies appear with serious expressions, plotting a scheme that will affect all merchant guilds. With a snap of his fingers, the governor gives a signal, setting the stage to begin his discussion of power.
He clenches his fist tightly, illustrating his belief that true control cannot simply be bought. Raising his goblet, the governor declares with a smile that no matter how much gold one accumulates, it is useless. A hooded woman with sharp fangs observes the scene with a smile, seemingly agreeing with his philosophy. The governor and his accomplices toast with a purple liquid, celebrating their planned success with a malicious smile.
The hooded man bids farewell, stating he will take the good news of the conquest directly to the emperor. As he plans to create a creative report to stir up trouble, the man suddenly stops, surprised by something he heard in the forest.
A hooded man finds 2 horses in the forest, deducing they must belong to nobles defeated in battle.
He approaches to calm the white horse, whispering for the animal to hold steady and not be startled.
Satisfied, he mounts the animal and praises its grandeur, believing he will quickly reach the capital with such a steed. Suddenly, the horse halts, leaving the man bewildered and questioning aloud the reason for the abrupt stop.
A terrifying sound of something being torn apart echoes through the forest, signaling the arrival of a deadly predator in the darkness. Alerted by the noise, the coachman stops abruptly, looking back with an expression of pure apprehension and fear.
Terror seizes the man, his eyes widening in panic as he finally grasps the nature of the threat.
Under the moon, a monstrous wolf wreathed in blue flames emerges from the shadows, snarling fiercely at its new prey.
Struck by an arrow, a knight gazes in panic at the battle, cursing the elves for the desperate situation.
As they watch from afar, one of Laurent's soldiers questions if it's right to leave the human knight to fight the creature alone. Sword in hand, Another knight reports they've attacked the monster dozens of times, yet it hasn't even cried out in pain.
Watching the fight, Leon tells Gustav they would only be dead weight if they tried to intervene in the battle.
Johann unleashes a dark, intense aura, his eyes gleaming with overwhelming power as he prepares for the confrontation. With impressive speed, Johann charges directly at the multi-headed beast, preparing a decisive attack. Johann lunges forward with his spear, focusing all his power into a single decisive blow against the aquatic monster.
Johann's attack strikes its mark, making the monstrous beast recoil in agony as blood gushes from the wound. Johann presses on against the monstrous creature, dodging its claws and preparing for a swift counterattack with clenched fists. The beast attacks fiercely, but Johann positions himself underneath, aiming for a vital point to deliver a powerful, decisive blow.
The impact of Johann's strike shatters the creature's carapace, revealing the overwhelming force he channels into his attacks.
Despite his attack, the creature retaliates with brutal force, sending Johann flying backward with a direct hit. With a single blow of pure force, Johann crushes the head of the troll, which attacks him unarmed.
The knights watch in shock, crying out in disbelief. He's fighting a troll with his bare hands? Giving no time for enemies to react, Johann charges at high speed, already preparing his next attack.
Johann delivers devastating blows to the monster's chest, which feels the full impact and recoils before his overwhelming power. With superhuman agility, Johann dodges the creature's attack, preparing a swift and lethal counterattack with his glowing fists. The impact of Johann's blow is so powerful it creates a massive shockwave in the water, completely destabilizing the giant creature.
In a continuous assault, Johann lands another crushing punch, breaking the monster's tough carapace with his brutal, relentless force. With eyes glowing blue, Johann plunges towards the monster, concentrating all his strength for a decisive blow. The impact of Johann's punch is devastating, making the monster stumble backward, stunned by the superhuman strength.
Johann delivers a devastating punch to the giant monster's face, which stumbles backward from the brutal impact of the blow.
The creature begins to sink into the murky water, the power of Johann's attack strong enough to completely subjugate it. Knights Laurent and Leon watch the scene in utter disbelief, unable to articulate words before the superhuman strength they witnessed.
Using his superhuman strength, Johann grabs the aquatic beast's jaw, beginning to tear it apart with his bare hands.
With tremendous effort, Johann cracks the monster's skull, determined to utterly annihilate it with his overwhelming power. After destroying the creature, Johann and the carcass violently plunge into the water, ending the brutal and decisive confrontation.
With eyes glowing an intense blue, Johann unleashes a cry of overwhelming fury, completely surrendering to his destructive power. The knights look on in panic, and one screams, "Oh God!" completely terrified by the scene of destruction before them. After the enemy's body fully sinks, Johann emerges from the water, his silhouette imposing and covered in the marks of battle. Watching the monster's remains submerge, Johann thinks with certainty that with this damage, it will no longer be able to regenerate. As his companions flee on horseback, a man is dragged away by a shadowy creature, desperately screaming for the beast to release him. Fallen to the ground, he despairs at the thought of dying so uselessly, questioning if he will be devoured alongside the horses. Mortally wounded, Laurent calls for Gustav, his companion. He gasps on the ground, armor pierced, and life ebbing away.
Laurent asks them not to mourn, questioning if this wouldn't be an honorable death for a knight of Franks, accepting his fate.
Another knight reacts with anguish and pain, shocked by the words of his dying companion and the harsh reality of the situation. With tears in his eyes, Knight Laurent promises that the vision of his companion's courageous fight will definitely be passed on.
Overcome with grief, Laurent continues to weep, while Knight Leon behind him also appears shaken by the loss. Johann observes the dramatic scene with an impassive expression, appearing completely indifferent to the knight's lament.
Johann ponders, using a potion on an NPC, concluding that it's better to make the investment now for the future.
He offers the potion to the wounded knight to alleviate his pain, and the man realizes something interesting is about to happen. Impatient with the hesitation, Johann tells the knight to shut up and simply drink the potion offered to him.
The knight finally tips the vial, drinking the red potion that mixes with the blood on his face. As the soldiers watch, a knight laments the loss of his friend, who was like a brother to him in Johann's presence.
The knights turn to Johann amidst their grief, calling his name with expectation as he watches them with a serious expression. With tears of relief, Laurent thanks Johann for alleviating the unbearable pain of his comrade, Leon.
Johann's sudden appearance startles the knights, who turn in shock at his unexpected presence. Clutching the potion vial, Leon exclaims in amazement that the pain tormenting him has completely vanished.
Questioned by Laurent, Leon confirms he's well, feeling strangely clean and breathing easily again.
The healed knight holds the glowing vial, wondering if he's reborn, questioning if it's the water of blessing.
Johann reveals the item is the Water of Blessing, a mystical elixir capable of saving anyone on the verge of death. Fully recovered, the knight embraces Johann in gratitude, effusively thanking him for saving his life.
The knights express gratitude, but one questions why Johann would spend such a precious item on one of their comrades.
An officer turns to his troops, asking if all saw how the Honorable Sir Johann just saved one of their brothers.
In response to the call to praise Johann, the soldiers pound their spears into the ground in a unison gesture of honor and admiration. Gustav, the elven knight, approaches Johann with enthusiasm, declaring he now considers him a sworn brother.
With determination, Gustav turns and warns that anyone insulting Johann will face his wrath.
Wielding his sword, Gustav shouts that any enemy of Johann will first have to face his mighty blade. The group of knights encounters an army of spearmen who prepare for the imminent attack. A boy excitedly announces the news that Sir Johann fought a troll and emerged victorious.
With wide eyes, he explains that, according to rumors, Johann used neither fire nor magic to win. He reveals the shocking method. Johann simply ripped the troll's mouth open with his bare hands to kill it.
Lord Sudelger hears the account and laughs, seemingly amused by the news of Johann's incredible brute strength. Lord Sudelger observes the battle's outcome, barely believing what is being reported about the fight. In shock, he shouts, incredulous that anyone could have killed the troll by tearing it with bare hands. Observing the forest scene, Johann admits the display of strength they witnessed is unbelievable. Johann and his companion are perplexed, questioning how the monster's body remained so intact.
A warrior reveals, shocked, that her sisters needed purifying flames to burn trolls to cinders, a feat Johann just accomplished. Injured, Johann realizes the harsh reality of killing a monster, thinking, "So this is how you kill one? I thought it was like a game."
As an imposing image emerges, it is declared that Johann's presentation will forever change from that day, reflecting his new status.
Johann's mind immediately focuses on the reward, and he's excited by the prospect of earning significant money from the troll's spoils.
Johann ponders the achievement system, concluding that, like in a game, defeating strong individuals grants a corresponding title.
With a satisfied smile, Johann thinks of his first major achievement in this world and the title he just received for it. An elf knight tries to calm his men, frantically explaining that the terrifying apparition isn't a monster, but Johann's hatchling.
The shadowy creature of blue flames appears before a terrified man who can only scream for help when confronted.
The knights approach a man on the ground, questioning him and stating he is merely a traveler.
Gustav asks if a wolf attacked him out of nowhere, and the sweating man quickly agrees with the story. Johann observes the interaction with disdain, thinking to himself that the man's excuse is utter nonsense. The traveler continues to sweat and smile strangely, unable to hide his nervousness during the interrogation. A knightess in purple armor asks Johann for permission to speak with a traveler they found, winking amicably at him.
Johann, taken aback by her approach, quickly agrees and allows her to proceed with the man's interrogation.
Without any warning, the knightess violently plunges her dagger into the traveler's hand, who screams in agony and shock. Grabbing him by the collar, she threatens the traveler, stating she doesn't care who he is, as she's in a foul mood. With maximum effort and concentration, a man grinds his teeth as he finally tracks his target.
He approaches Johann and announces, "I've found his location," leaving the young man perplexed by the news. Recovering, Johann begins to formulate a plan, considering what he will do upon capturing his enemy.
A confident smile forms on Johann's face, revealing he has already decided his next move.
Johann proposes a surprise attack with high-mobility troops, determined to end the expedition with a single decisive blow. Leading the charge, a knight shouts that it's harvest time, as the cavalry furiously advances into battle. The elf soldiers surround an enemy and brutally execute him, shouting, "Die, you bastard!" as they pierce him with their spears. Amidst the chaos of a surprise attack, soldiers flee in panic, shouting for everyone to run for their lives.
A knightess leads the charge, drawing her sword and ordering her men to find Einbeck at all costs. The defenders are mercilessly massacred, lamenting that they believed they would be safe in that location. Observing the massacre, a mysterious hooded figure reacts with shock and dread, their eyes wide with horror at the violence. Amidst the fire and destruction, a hooded woman decides to save herself, shouting that she will get out of there first. A figure desperately runs through the forest, frantically calling for His Imperial Majesty to help her.
Beside Johann, The knight Laurent smiles and announces, "It's here. There's a gift for you." Johann emerges from the shadows, facing his target with a cold, determined expression, ready for the reckoning.
With a furious glint in his eyes, Johann focuses, his intent to execute judgment unwavering.
Terrified by the apparition, the governor panics and screams, questioning if he stands before a ghost. With the battle over, the camp is hastily dismantled under orders for immediate withdrawal for all combatants.
Johann bids farewell to Father Valberga's soldiers, who respectfully salute him before going their own way.
The governor sighs in relief, rubbing his wrists as if freed, feeling safe for a brief moment after the turmoil.
In shock, the governor wonders how Johann still breathes, recalling having used an entire vial of lethal poison in his drink.
He rages, remembering the knights defending Johann, and questions why those damn people follow him with such loyalty. Walking ahead of the knights, the governor provokes them arrogantly, asking if they're staring at him and if they want to die.
With the arrival of an unexpected visitor, a wine glass is knocked over, spilling its contents as a sign of impending dread. The governor is paralyzed with fear, his hands trembling as the spilled glass lies at his feet on the floor. With his face stained with blood, the governor tries to maintain composure and greets the newcomer. "I hope you've been well." He completes his tense greeting, revealing that the intimidating visitor is none other than Lord Gessen, Johann's father.
Gessen Yates stares at the visitor with a severe, suspicious gaze, his cold expression showing impatience with the situation.
The governor, instead of money, has his servant deliver a gleaming parchment as payment, leaving a spilled goblet behind. The servant presents the parchment directly to Gessen, who receives it with a fixed gaze, assessing the noble's unexpected offer.
Gessen unrolls the document, and his surprised expression indicates that the content is far more valuable than mere war funds. Gessen Yates's eyes fill with irritation upon seeing the message delivered to him by the Empire's envoy.
Gessen glares at the governor and asks with contempt why he is handing him a blank piece of paper.
The governor explains that he is there at the Emperor's request, who needs Gessen Yates's help once more. Furious at the request, Gessen shouts that he will not allow the Empire to use him again.
Gessen Yates vents, recalling that he fought in countless wars on the Emperor's orders, only to be discarded in the north.
With a cunning look, the governor presents a document, telling Gessen to simply place his seal upon it.
Gessen examines the document, which, according to the governor, will serve as a symbol of absolute loyalty to His Majesty. Before the imperial flag, Lord Suttlegar announces that His Majesty will personally bestow upon Johann the title of Count. The governor reinforces the promise with a determined gaze, swearing in the name of the noble Auvergne family that the agreement will be honored. With fixed and intense eyes, Johann processes the monumental offer that could completely change the course of his life. A powerful noble throws a sealed document to the floor, demonstrating his authority and contempt. He threatens the governor. "If you steal my credit again, I'll rip out your tongue and feed it to the dogs." The governor picks up the document from the floor, responding with a submissive "of course" to his superior.
With the parchment in hand, the governor maintains a neutral expression, hiding his true intentions.
With a determined look, the governor declares that the charade will be a powerful weapon to advance the Emperor's cause.
The evidence is revealed. A letter with a forged seal, fabricated to be a clear conspiracy of rebellion.
The captain of the Imperial Guard, Karamov, faces the situation with cold resolve, ready to act based on the fabricated treason.
Karamov directly accuses the governor, stating he intends to frame people for treason to carry out a purge.
With a sinister smile, the governor twirls his mustache, revealing his satisfaction with the evil plan that was exposed. Karamov glares at the governor with contempt, holding a document and calling the plan a disgusting scheme. The governor furiously points at the knight, yelling for Karamov to watch his words during the confrontation. Karamov stares at the governor with a cold, impassive gaze, remaining silent and unfazed by his fury. He confronts him, questioning how he dares speak of honor while accusing him of not sparing even children. Karamov grips the governor tightly, questioning how someone like him dares speak of honor using his family's name. He recalls his solemn oath to become the Emperor's sword, acting only according to the sacred orders he received. With a cold gaze, Karamov declares that the Emperor's honor outweighs all lives, and that is his own honor. As he strangles the governor, Karamov asserts that a man who survived by dirty tricks and betrayals is nothing like him.
The governor falls to his knees, coughing violently and struggling to breathe after being struck by an invisible power.
Enraged and powerless, the governor clenches his fists, thinking that Karamov is to blame for all his misfortune.
He continues to curse the knight, calling him an idiot who only knows how to speak of being the Emperor's sword.
With a face marked by tension, the governor lets out a long sigh, appearing relieved after the recent ordeal. His expression of relief twists into a sinister smile as he scoffs at the situation, thinking, but whatever.
During their journey, Johann is approached by a soldier reporting an emergency, making him question what has happened.
Knights Leon and Laurent look on in despair, shouting in rage as they realize the city has already been taken by the enemy. In contrast, Johann observes the situation with a calm and analytical expression, pondering what he sees before him.
Elsewhere, the corrupt governor lets out a maniacal laugh, revealing his satisfaction with the city's fall.
The governor erupts in a maniacal laugh, celebrating his successful plan as his enemies fall into his trap. In despair, Kumal realizes they've been deceived upon receiving news that their rear defense has been breached. Johann smiles confidently, declaring they will advance and face the danger head-on without retreating. In response, the governor bursts into uncontrolled, maniacal laughter, completely underestimating the threat.
On horseback, Johann coldly plans to sever the governor's tendons and use him to expose Karamaf's incompetence.
The governor, even bound, plots his betrayal, declaring he will send Johann to the gallows once he's no longer useful.
In a cruel whisper, the governor reveals that, in the final moment, he will confess to Johann that he was the one who killed his father.
A man with a mustache boasts to a silent Johann, declaring with a smug smile, "I won, Johann Eitz." His associate celebrates the plan's success, enthusiastically shouting that he always knew it would work. Suddenly, a blonde-haired elf of imposing appearance emerges, interrupting the celebration with his intimidating presence. The celebration turns into pure terror, with the man paralyzed by fear upon seeing the unexpected figure. Consul Valaco suddenly appears, facing the terrified governor and taking on an intimidating presence in the area. Outside, the knights hear the commotion and wonder what's happening, not understanding the sudden turn of events. Under Johann's gaze, Valaco grabs the governor by the collar and effortlessly lifts him, demonstrating his authority. Consul Valaco formally congratulates the group, expressing his sincere gratitude for the completion of their mission. Smiling, Johann thanks the governor for the reception, saying he's happy to see him well and safe. In a flashback, the mercenaries react with surprise upon hearing that Johann has one more request for them. Johann's expression turns serious as he connects the dots. Which means, he thinks, realizing the terrible implication. He concludes that the enemy could infiltrate the city at any moment, placing all their allies in imminent danger. In a bloody recollection, an eye-patched mercenary stands victorious over an enemy's decapitated head, showcasing his cruelty. A young mercenary boasts that his opponents weren't special, but his leader reminds him the victory was due to a surprise attack. Johann gives a thumbs up, expressing his confidence, saying he knew he could trust the Goran mercenaries. Valaco watches the group disdainfully, commenting on someone's obsession as Johann and the others laugh in the background. With a cold gaze, Valaco orders the terrified governor to accept his fate in silence without resisting.
As he's dragged by guards, the governor desperately screams to be freed, calling out Bradil's name.
From atop the castle wall, an old soldier casts down the red banner, a dramatic signal to all watching below. With victory declared, a bard begins to play his lute, starting the song that will celebrate the battle's outcome. Bards play in the square, singing of the shadows that fell upon Marseille, the city of trade and freedom. The song details how treacherous mercenaries, bandits, and a troll tried to bring down the city walls in a fierce assault. As part of the performance, a figure steps barefoot into a basket full of flower petals, beginning a symbolic act. With a gentle gesture, hands toss the petals into the air, perhaps symbolizing the hope that emerged after the conflict. Bards begin to sing of the city's new hero, naming him the troll slayer of Marseille, Johann Eitz. Johann rides through the streets as the people cheer him, singing his name is like a warhammer and his courage like flames. The crowd pays homage, loudly proclaiming Johann as the hero of Marseille and the troll slayer as he passes. Bards sing of Johann Eitz, the hero who overpowered a troll with crushing strength, celebrating victory won by his own hands. As citizens and soldiers hail him as just, Johann hears the songs that have turned him into a legend for his heroic deeds. Watching the celebration, a mercenary questions if they should leave without farewell, but his comrade reminds him Sir Johann brought peace. Watching the crowd from above, the mercenaries decide to depart, concluding they'd only hinder if they attempted a formal salute to the hero. Johann's comrade celebrates that the children are safe in Marseille, declaring it's now time to go back to earning money. Relaxing on a sofa, Johann smiles at Ian and asks if he can now request payment for the mission they just completed. Ian hands over the spoils report, but Johann suspects, by the division method, his share of the reward won't be large. Johann sips his tea and laughs sarcastically upon hearing of the insignificant compensation received from the Oak mercenary group. Jan continues reading, announcing the sale value of the monster spoils, which immediately catches Johann's attention. Upon hearing the value of the troll hides, Johann spits out his tea in shock, and Jan startles, asking if he's alright. Still stunned, Johann assures he's fine, but anxiously asks what the total sale value is. Branch manager Jan approaches Johann to confirm the details of his reward, simply stating, "Ah, yes." Johann can barely contain his joy, suppressing a smile as he thinks of the immense fortune he just received as a war reward. In a banquet hall, Johann politely tries to refuse more drink from Gustav, stating he's had enough and is comfortable. Ignoring his protests, Gustav enthusiastically pours wine into Johann's glass, insisting his friend drink more. Gustav reflects on the week of peace since the battle, thinking all the effort was worth it to live like this. With an arm over Johann, Gustav proposes a toast, calling him brother for bravely defeating a troll. Gustav, the elf knight, proposes a toast, while Lord Sudelger is surprised, thinking about how the knights have changed their attitude. As Johann tastes the food, finding it great, Gustav lectures about being ready to die before the hero's arrival. The female guests listen, captivated, as Gustav describes Johann standing over the troll's body, building suspense for his next words. Johann stands over the defeated knight, who can barely believe what happened, and asks if it's truly real. Gustav, the elf knight, is paralyzed with horror, witnessing Johann's overwhelming display of power. Sitting with Lord Sudelger, Johann asks him to be honest, leaving the mage confused about what he wants to know. Lord Sudelger, with a serious gaze, states that the recent incident will not only affect one city, but will shake the entire empire. While eating, Johann hears Lord Sudelger express astonishment that he killed a troll with his bare hands, responding that he nearly died in the process. Lord Sudelger angrily scolds Johann, questioning why he wasted the precious Eifel River elixir on something so trivial. With a cunning smile, Johann thinks that by saving those people, he'll earn extra points and a good recommendation with Villaco. While eating, Johann hears Lord Sudelger call him an impudent brat, seemingly unfazed by the mage's scolding. Despite initial irritation, Sudelger changes his tone and expresses relief, saying he's glad Johann returned whole. Lord Sudelger recalls the vision he had at the Eifel River, which prophesied that Johann would never be able to settle in Marseille. He reflects on the infallibility of the river's prophecies, while Johann's determined image seems to defy that fact. Observing Johann's silhouette against the sun, Sudelger questions if he truly managed to change his fate with his own strength. Holding the empty vial, Johann asks Lord Sudelger for a bit more of the elixir, claiming he used it for a good cause. Lord Sudelger looks at Johann with suspicion, saying that, to him, it doesn't seem like the elixir was used for anything good. Refusing the request, the mage snatches the vial from Johann's hand with a quick, decisive movement. Lord Sudelger offers Johann a potion, inviting him to stop by his room later to pick up some units of the item. Before Johann can accept, Sudelger questions if he shouldn't go save manager Eon, leaving him utterly bewildered. Completely caught off guard, Johann is shocked by the revelation, not understanding what is happening to his ally. It turns out Eon is being harassed by drunk elves, and Johann thinks they turn into dogs when they drink. Elves grab Eon with excessive enthusiasm, leaving her utterly perplexed and not understanding the situation. Johann intervenes with a smile, asking to dance with Lady Eon, while the elves question his interest in her.
Relieved, Ion thanks Johann for saving her from embarrassment, hoping his intervention won't cause him trouble.
Johann reassures Eon during the dance, asking her to just follow the rhythm to avoid drawing attention. He smiles and comforts her, saying the music will soon end and she can discreetly leave afterward.
Completely blushing and nervous, Eon reacts to the proximity as Johann holds her hand.
With her hand on his chest, Eon calls Johann's name, surprised by the intimacy of the situation. Holding Johann's hand, Ion asks with a hopeful look if he would truly accept dancing with her. Johann seems caught off guard by the beast woman's sudden and enthusiastic invitation. His expression changes to a soft, confident smile, silently accepting her proposal. Johann leads her into the dance, and their footsteps begin to echo through the wooden hall. Amidst the celebration, Johann leads Eon in a lively dance, holding her firmly as they move to the music. With a radiant smile and a flushed face, Ion enjoys every second of the dance, visibly happy to be with Johann. Johann returns the sentiment with a genuine smile, allowing himself to enjoy this rare and peaceful moment of happiness beside her. With the morning light, Johann stirs in bed and grumbles, feeling the exhaustion from recent confrontations. His eyes suddenly open, gleaming with an intense blue light as he fully awakens. Johann wakes with a cry, stretching in bed. He seems to have had a wild night and is completely disoriented about what happened. He finds a strand of hair and wonders what that fur ball is, completely confused by the strange discovery. Johann gets up, trying to remember what happened, but realizes he can recall absolutely nothing from the previous night. On the table, Johann finds a flask with a note and questions it upon reading the words, "Blessed water," intrigued. Johann reads the letter, confused by the mention of an intense moment and an invitation to the Ifeal River. Still hungover, he opens the bottle Suderg left, thinking he definitely drank too much last night. Johann uses the ancient secret of the Ifeal River to cure his hangover, and the effect is so incredible that he feels completely revitalized. Suddenly, a thunderous noise shatters Johann's calm, making him turn abruptly, alerted to the disturbance coming from outside. Johann goes to the balcony door to investigate the sound's origin, encountering an unexpected scene outside. Amidst the confused crowd, Johann observes the spreading chaos, wondering what on earth is happening around him. Johann watches the scene with apprehension, feeling the tension rise in the crowded city square. On a wooden platform, a figure prepares to address the crowd of citizens gathered in the square. Vilaco addresses the crowd, declaring that a shadow of chaos has fallen upon the city due to the governor's negligence. He incites the populace, accusing the authorities of endangering everyone's safety and property. Consul Vilaco explodes in rage, shouting that the presence of those people in the city is absolutely unacceptable. Shocked, the citizens wonder aloud who the outsiders are and why they haven't left yet. Vilaco threatens that whoever remains after the deadline will suffer the same fate as the bloodied man in the suspended cage. Johann watches the scene in shock, breaking into a cold sweat as he realizes the terrible situation unfolding. He cannot believe what is about to happen. Before the crowd, Consul Vilaco prepares to begin the execution, wanting everyone to witness his power and relentless cruelty. Vilaco advances with a lit torch towards the bound governor. The brutal punishment is about to begin, to everyone's shock. With a slight smile, Karamov continues to provoke the governor, expressing surprise that someone like him could exist. A wooden beam is forcefully thrown, erupting in flames and commencing the governor's brutal punishment. Trapped in a cage, the governor is lowered into the fire, screaming and desperately pleading for his life to be spared. The governor's screams echo as he is burned alive, forcing the citizens to witness the terrifying scene. In his final moments, the governor's face contorts in pure agony, being completely consumed by the relentless flames. A memory begins with a mother's warm voice calling her son, Einbeck, "My little angel," in a moment of tenderness. Einbeck's mother hugs him and says he is all she needs, showing her unconditional love for her son. Amidst the flames, a desperate eye sheds tears as he laments, wishing things had been different just once. The image of that happy past with his mother is consumed by fire as the memory turns to ashes. In a scene of horror, enormous metal cages burn in flames, revealing the cruel fate reserved for the prisoners. Johann observes the scene with a serious gaze, reflecting that in this world, both favors and grudges will be repaid. Amidst the chaos, a man approaches, informing Johann the governor desires a private conversation. In a tense situation, Johann wonders why he was suddenly summoned for this unexpected talk. With a smile, Vilaco invites Johann to sit, proposing a civilized conversation. Johann sits, visibly wary, as Vilaco asserts this time will differ from their last meeting. Consul Vilaco pours a drink, offering Johann a premium whiskey. Johann receives the glass with a distrustful expression, clearly hesitant. Concerned, he realizes he cannot refuse the drink due to etiquette. With a forced smile, Johann allows the drink, deciding it's best to accept for now. Drinking with Vilaco, Johann notes Marcel is more peaceful. The consul expresses his pleasure. Johann, visibly confused, asks what Vilaco means by the front line. With a smug smile, Vilaco reveals he means the imminent war between Marcel and the Emperor, shocking Johann. Johann listens intently to Vilaco's proposal, maintaining a serious, focused expression during their private talk. Utterly surprised by the consul's revelation, Johann reacts in shock, asking, "Wait, what?" Vilaco describes Johann's charisma, capable of influencing anyone, recalling those he's already swayed. Vilaco confronts him, questioning if ambition didn't bring him to Marcel to utilize his skills. Johann listens to Vilaco's proposal with apprehension, a bead of sweat revealing his tension at the dangerous offer. Johann refuses the offer, stating to Villaco he has no intention of leading a front against the Emperor. With disdain, Villaco questions Johann, doubting he truly desires only a simple, stable life. With an intense, predatory gaze, Villaco reveals his true intentions, to manipulate the political situation to his favor. Johann reminds Villaco of the countless northern massacres, noting one destroyed the consul's own territory, Eitz. Johann stares seriously at Villaco, awaiting his reaction to the harsh reminder of the Empire's atrocities. While pouring a drink, Johann directly asks Villaco if he now understands why they must prepare for war. Consumed by rage and pain, Villaco squeezes his goblet so hard the metal begins to shatter in his hand. With a dark look, Consul Villaco asserts that nothing prior will be relevant moving forward. Johann listens attentively, his gaze distrustful, as he tries to understand Villaco's true, hidden intentions. Villaco stares directly at Johann, his expression serious as he prepares to give a crucial, irreversible order. Ordered to follow him, Johann visibly tenses, cold sweat beading as he faces the sudden, dangerous demand. A close-up reveals Villaco's cold gaze, his red eyes burning intensely as he prepares for a grand revelation. The consul then declares his ultimate ambition, confidently stating that he is, in fact, an emperor. Facing the threat, a knight clenches his gauntleted fist, bracing for the inevitable confrontation ahead. Johann equips his new armor, which cost 11 gold coins. Despite its weight, he feels it offers a sense of security. A companion worries about the equipment's high cost, noting 11 gold coins is the price of a warhorse. Fully armored, Johann is told they are ready to depart, and thanks his assistant for a job well done. Fully equipped, Johann mounts his horse and leads his retinue out of the city, beginning the next stage of his journey. Johann approaches the meeting place, spotting Consul Villaco awaiting him at the entrance of a grand hall. With a gesture of respect, Consul Villaco bows formally, introducing himself to the newcomer with a hand to his chest. Clad in his armor, Johann eyes the consul with distrust, assessing the elf who summoned him to this meeting. A worried girl asks Johann where he is going with the troops, questioning if he is departing for war. Johann doesn't answer, merely observing the horizon in silence, leaving the question hanging before his departure. Later, in a dark room, Villaco sits with Johann to discuss the next steps and the situation's complexities. Villaco reacts with shock and a cold sweat upon hearing Johann's direct question about his true motives. Johann considers Villaco's proposal, which promises a unique opportunity for immense wealth and glory. Regaining composure, Villaco admits that, observing Johann, he noticed something unexpected that altered his plans. Johann and Villaco sit face to face for a serious conversation, a tense atmosphere settling with a drink between them. Villaco questions Johann's perception of events, asking directly, "Aren't you misunderstanding things?" With an intense gaze, Villaco warns of approaching chaotic times, calling Johann's name amidst his prophecy. Watching the sunset, Johann seems to ponder his next step on his journey as a fugitive. A confident smile appears on his face, suggesting he already has a defined destination and plan. Johann's plan to settle in Marseille was destroyed by Villaco, but he presses on with his journey with a smile. A noble beastman, Count Jarfin, ponders the title Troll Slayer, questioning the true strength behind the legend. Johann seems uncomfortable, thinking that despite being accustomed to hardship, there's something he truly cannot tolerate. He reveals that the strong scent of his beast women companions is something he simply cannot get used to, as he is not human. Accompanied by Yeon, Johann introduces himself to the mercenaries, and she demands that everyone greet their new employer with respect. Led by Dyke, the mercenaries react with disdain, wondering in thought who this man is, introducing himself as their boss. With a smile, Eon warns them not to try to display their strength or challenge their new boss's authority. Johann smiles confidently, stating he doesn't care about the mercenaries' appearance, as long as they fight well and are competent. Upon discovering he is the famous Troll Slayer, the female mercenaries Dyke and Shuka grab Johann, marveling at his reputation. The female mercenaries Dyke and Shuka introduce themselves to Johann, excited about the new partnership and declaring they will work well together on the mission. Johann crosses his arms with a satisfied smile, confident in his decision to hire the mercenary group for his journey. While walking with Jan, Johann warns his new mercenaries, cautioning that anyone who bares their teeth will lose all of them. Questioned by Jan about his imminent departure, Johann laughs awkwardly and replies that things simply unfolded this way. Jan approaches Johann and, asking him to lean down, prepares to deliver her farewell gift. With a careful gesture, Eon places a necklace around Johann's neck, a surprise gift before his journey. To reach Johann's height, she stands on her tiptoes, a small detail that reveals the intimacy of the moment. An looks up with an air of satisfaction, pleased with the reaction she provoked in Johann. Johann blushes upon receiving the Troll Slayer emblem as a gift from the Katana group. With a nervous smile, Johann is asked if he truly embarked on his journey without a defined destination. Johann receives the letter and observes it with suspicion, questioning the sender's identity. A woman reacts with astonishment upon reading the content, exclaiming that the letter came from Count Jarfen. Del points with a wink, drawing Johann's attention to the ceremony that is about to begin. The knighting ceremony is revealed, a ritual where a noble recognizes and elevates another person's status. This title acts as a sponsorship, guaranteeing the individual a chance for rapid ascent and solid support. Johann realizes the importance of the event and thinks that, with the right strategy, he too could be named a knight. Johann celebrates the chance to obtain money and a knight's title all at once, while Dyke watches him with suspicion. As they approach a checkpoint, Dyke warns that despite the apparent normalcy, there's a strong smell of blood in the air. Suddenly, guards intercept the group, demanding they halt immediately for inspection and identification. Angered by the guards' hostile approach, Johann glares at them and questions their presence. A guard attempts to extort Johann, demanding a small gift to let him pass the checkpoint unchecked. Angered by Johann's refusal, the guard calls him an annoying knight, making it clear they would not cooperate. Surrounded by soldiers, the guard accuses Johann of attempting to humiliate him in front of his men for not simply paying the money. A guard advances, shouting disdainfully that he's not intimidated by pompous knights, underestimating the peril he faces. In a display of force, a devastating punch lands on a guard's face, who screams that this will be the fate of all of them. As the guards are cut down in an instant, the mercenary Shuka watches the carnage with a cold and determined gaze. The mercenaries Shuka and Dyke advance mercilessly upon enemy soldiers, who scream in agony as their blades cut them down. Gazing at the corpses, they realize the entire massacre took a mere 30 minutes, a testament to their overwhelming power. The scent of blood in the air, emanating from civilian bodies, unveiled the true nature of the carnage at the scene. Johann fiercely confronts the mercenaries with a furious gaze, demanding to know what they were doing amidst the massacre. Johann shouts in surprise upon hearing of the attack on Count Jarfen's castle, unable to comprehend the situation. Gasping in despair, the wounded soldier recalls the failed attack that drove him to desertion.